now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
At Lake Washington Windows and Doors, we are committed to giving you quality workmanship and white glove service that exceed your expectations. Get our exclusive leak armor installation backed by a lifetime warranty. Choose Lake Washington Windows and Doors, a name you can trust.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma.
Give me a freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
I don't read the internet, guys.
Take the bull by the hands.
And Brooke, you are. And Brooke, you are.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Eward and Mike Salk.
All right, hi, good morning. Hello, everybody. Brock and Salk Show, Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com, Seattle Sports app, podcast platforms, the whole deal, man. We are everywhere coming at you this morning or later today or maybe even tomorrow or later this week. I don't know how long you wait to listen to this show on demand. Maybe you use the app. You leave us a little message for Here's the Thing tomorrow. A lot of different ways to consume this show, and we certainly appreciate it. Let's see. We got the rest of the week here where we will rock out with our Brock out. That means today, some friends coming by. Greg Bishop's going to be here for a couple of hours, Sports Illustrated, and he will tell stories, which is generally what he's best at, and just his stories are kind of unlike anybody else I know in the business. So from 8 to 10, little Greg Bishop time. We'll also have Daniel Jeremiah today. Tomorrow, a lot of baseball talk with the Marine Layer guys. We have an in with the Marine Layer podcast, and we're able to somehow wrangle those two guys. Some dude named Lyle and his buddy TJ. They're going to come in and hang out and talk baseball and other stuff over the course of the day tomorrow. Shil Kapadia will come in as well. And then G on Friday. And yeah, it's a whole thing. So the rest of the week should be a ton of fun. The story today, of course, is Ichiro. We knew it was going to be yesterday. So it's sort of day 2 of celebrating Ichiro. Kind of predicted that we'd end up with one of these stories yesterday, right? Of like 1 or 2 people decide not to vote for Ichiro, which is, of course, absurd. Like, there's just some people that they're just Hall of Famers. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're not going to vote for them? They're just Hall of Famers. Ichiro's just a Hall of Famer, right? Certainly, if you're going to vote unanimously for Mariano Rivera, a closer who, of course, is a Hall of Famer and should have been unanimous. So is Ichiro. So is Ken Griffey Jr. Like, those guys are just Hall of Fame. But then you look at some of the other players that weren't, unanimous, and you think about all the other great players that were voted in history, and you're like, Willie Mays wasn't a unanimous choice for the Hall of Fame? What? Hank Aaron wasn't a unanimous choice for the Hall of Fame? Somebody voted against Hank Aaron being in the Hall of Fame? Like, what? Somebody who ostensibly covered the game of baseball was like, I don't feel like Willie Mays or Hank Aaron are Hall of Famers yet. Maybe give them a couple years and I'll come around and vote for them. But I want to make sure they know that they're not fully Hall of Famers in my book. What? What are you talking about? Mike Schmidt's not a Hall of Famer? Nolan Ryan wasn't a Hall... Somebody out there thought I shouldn't vote for Cal Ripken for the Hall of Fame? What? And then, of course, Derek Jeter, Ken Griffey Jr., and now Ichiro. It is bizarre, certainly, that of the 4 highest percentage vote getters for the Hall of Fame, 2 of them are Yankees and 2 of them are Mariners. Of course. The 2 crown jewels fighting back and forth, one on the East Coast, one on the West, mirroring each other, the Mariners and Yankees forever together in Hall of Fame history. Bizarre. Mariners don't have a lot of Hall of Famers, but when they get them, They make darn sure they are good ones, and Ichiro is certainly that. It also meant great stories yesterday about Ichiro. You've heard a ton of these, but I had not heard this one. I really like this story. Thanks to Lyle for sending it over, courtesy of Dustin Brennan, and it's a Mike Sweeney story. Now, if you remember in 2009, that was my first year here. Fascinating season. That team was not supposed to be good at all. Jack Zarensic's first year, Don Wakamatsu's first year, Russell Branyan was in. They brought back Junior. They brought in Mike Sweeney. Felix was still very much in his prime. Jose Lopez and Uneski Betancourt. And I think that's when we first got to meet Franklin Gutierrez and Jason Vargas and some guys like that. Anyway, here's Mike Sweeney and Ichiro loved each other. They were, and Griffey, really the three of them, were at the heart of that team. And Sweeney tells the story. This is before he'd ever gotten here. I'll just read it. He leads off the game with a line drive to left center for a base hit. He gets over to first, and all I could think about was when I was in Japan playing against Japanese All-Stars, anytime an American would get a base hit up on the Jumbotron would be a huge graphic, almost kind of like a 50s, 60s Batman Robin, pow, boom, that type of thing. And it would say, nice batting. And so over the loudspeaker, you'd hear the PA announcer say, nice batting. You'd see these big graphics come up on the Jumbotron. So being a kid from SoCal that doesn't speak any Japanese, I don't know what to say to Ichiro. I don't even know if he speaks English. He just got here in spring training, so I look over at him, I pat him on the back and say, Ichiro, nice batting. Which, by the way, is pretty funny. Good for Mike Sweeney. And I don't know what kind of response he's going to get. He looks at me, never met him before, and goes, Mike Sweeney, nice. We'll substitute the word rear end. Pretty good. I just start dying laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, his English was perfect, no accent. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy, he's going to be great. And he was. And I know there's a lot of frustration from a group of people that don't like that Ichiro would not speak in English. I get it. I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not going to fight about it. Like, I understand the frustration. It's a bummer that we haven't, as fans or media members, had the opportunity to engage with Ichiro in our language, because a lot is obviously lost when you go through a translator. His tone of voice, it's just different. I guess I would say a couple of things to that. One, always have heard this story, and I don't know if it's true, that Ichiro, kind of had a belief that to speak publicly in English would be a version of showing off. And he wasn't interested in doing that. That story I've heard, can't confirm that, just something that I've heard people maybe either say or speculate, whatever. The other is, I do wonder if Ichiro just had the idea that while his game was for the fans and he would speak through a translator to the fans, he wanted to keep a certain part of him for the players, that was unique for them. And a lot of players really hold each other, understandably, in a club. We're in this club together, and no one else knows what it's like to get into it. No one else worked as hard as we did. No one else had this special talent. No one else goes through the grind of 162 games every year. No one else gets analyzed and microanalyzed by the media and the fans and now social media, and no one else knows what it's like to get to the ballpark at 1 PM and not leave until 11:30, 12 o'clock at night and be around baseball every second and train in the off season and come through the minor leagues and ride the buses. And baseball, is a club of players that have all done something incredibly unique. And I wonder anyway, I don't know if I think, that might be a stretch, but I wonder if Ichiro has always held his English for the people that are in that club. And I think there's something a little bit admirable about that. So I've never gotten on Ichiro about that at all. And I do think it's ridiculous that anybody didn't vote for him for the Hall of Fame. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. Like, duh. I can't even believe that's a conversation that we need to have. But, of course, we do. And maybe somebody was trying to, make a point or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? As Lyles pointed out, without it being public, it's really difficult to know who it is and thus try to figure out, is it because it's some old-timer who, forgot? Is it because somebody, is just trying to demonstrate that if, X player wasn't a unanimous vote, then this player isn't a unanimous vote. I don't know. But it's dumb.
I could go on such a tangent about this, and I won't because I know we're getting up on the break here. I was going to say, though, when I saw there was one person that didn't vote for him, I'll be transparent here. My mind immediately went to, where's John Heyman's ballot?
Yeah, but Heyman,
it wasn't.
No,
Heyman
he was
voted for
mad
him.
about it. He was called, what did he call them? A knucklehead or something like that.
I think it was a numbskull.
A numbskull.
Yeah,
he went numbskull yesterday.
Yeah. So it wasn't him, but where was the first place in my brain went? There.
Yeah, I could see that. I will admit my brain actually kind of went there too as well. Like, who'd be looking to make little attention? No, it wasn't him, and it's somebody that obviously kept it anonymous. I will apologize for a little mistake I made yesterday. I was telling you the story of Barry Bonds hitting or getting robbed and then picking Ichiro up. I had the wrong guy. This is what happens when you get old, Lyle. You'll figure this out eventually. You remember most of the story, but then you screw up like an incredibly important detail. It wasn't Ichiro, it was Torrey Hunter. And thank you to the 505 in Albuquerque for letting me know. Yes, it was Torrey Hunter who robbed Barry Bonds and then got picked up during the celebration during an All-Star game. So that's my fault. Excuse me. I apologize. I screwed that one up yesterday. I do have, and I'll probably wait till 7 o'clock for it. But if you want Felix Hernandez to be in the Hall of Fame, and I'll give you his numbers and stuff coming up here in just a moment, I do think there is some really good news, not just right now, but on the horizon for the Felix Hernandez group. I do think that the Felix Hernandez supporters, the King's Court, as you will, there's some pretty positive news as you think about the future for Felix's chances for getting in. We'll do that at 7 o'clock, and I don't know. We'll come right back here with everything you need to know. It's Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710 SeattleSports.com.
Ichiro is headed to Cooperstown.
The unbelievable has happened.
Celebrating the career of Ichiro Suzuki.
I may joke around, but I really think it's great that we get a chance to play together.
I agree.
I'm here to tell you that Ichiro threw something out of Star Wars down there.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is. He's a new all-time hip king.
Join Seattle Sports in congratulating Ichiro Suzuki on a Hall of Fame career with your Seattle Mariners.
Cressy Garage Doors. If you're in the market for new garage doors, Cressy Door has been offering quality service since 1952. Best selection, best price. Cressy Door.
Something amazing is happening. Technology is working harder, faster, and more reliably. It's delivering results that work. But who makes technology work? CDW. We're a full-service technology solutions provider, advising our clients and designing customized solutions so they can reach their goals and do amazing things. CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at cdw.com.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use. Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Stream every Seattle sports show with the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center. Get new videos, podcasts, and articles on the Seahawks and Mariners from your favorite Seattle sports personalities daily.
enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text ROCK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text ROCK to 321321. That's ROCK to 321321.
The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shannon Dreyer.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, Bike Shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Start the year fresh with Washington Energy's New Year, New Home Sales event. Upgrade and save 15% on energy-efficient Bryant heating systems for your home. Keep cozy and safe this winter storm season with 15% off Honeywell whole home generators. Prepare for spring with 15% off beautiful Anderson windows and reliable Simonton doors. All on sale now for a limited time. It's the New Year, New Home Sales event with Washington Energy Services, bringing good energy to your home.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Well, I don't know that we'll ever know which the one voter was who decided Ichiro wasn't worthy of a Hall of Fame vote, but my guess is they'll remain anonymous forever, and probably for the best. I don't even really want to know who it is. Because of that one vote, Ichiro goes into the Hall of Fame with near unanimity, and of course, well-deserved.
Our first selectee was a 10-time Major League All-Star, a 10-time Gold Glove Award winner, and a 2-time American League batting champion, becoming the 30th member of the 3,000 hit club over 19 seasons with the Seattle Mariners, New York Yankees, and Florida Marlins. Today, Ichiro Suzuki becomes a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was a nice moment, and it continued as Ichiro sat in Seattle for a press conference and spoke about his career and what that journey was like.
Started in 2001, and now it's 2025, but at that time in 2001, there was probably not one person on this earth that thought that this day would come.
I would think that's probably true, but I think after seeing him and winning MVP that season, winning the Rookie of the Year that year, I would guess there were at least some people after one season that at least had an inkling that this could happen. The Mariners actually go one step further in their celebration. They also announced that his number 51 will hang in the rafters.
The Mariners are retiring your number 51 jersey. After your induction in Cooperstown this summer, we'll hold a ceremony here at T-Mobile Park on August 9th and officially retire your number 51 next to Hall of Famers Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and Jackie Robinson.
That would be Mariners president Kevin Martinez making the announcement. A little nervous, I think, in a moment like that. And who can blame him after Ichiro was just voted into the Hall of Fame? So he will head the Hall of Fame class with CC Sabathia, who also gets in on his first attempt, and Billy Wagner, who made it in on his 10th and final. If you get a chance, watch the video of Billy Wagner hearing and getting the call as he just completely breaks down. It's a really cool moment. I do like when the 10th ballot guys get voted in. Jim Rice, obviously Edgar Martinez. It makes sense. Those guys are borderline Hall of Famers, all three of them. They all belong in, by the way. I got no issues with any of them. But it took time for people to recognize all their accomplishments. They're not the Ichiros, the Jeters, the Riveras, the Juniors, the guys that are absolutely no doubt surefire right away Hall of Famers. But they keep plugging, and guys realize just who they are, and eventually they get in. So Carlos Beltran fell just short. He would probably not be on my list, but I'm not going to be upset if and when he gets in next year. Felix, a respectable 20.6%. So, interestingly, only 2 non-steroid candidates finished higher than Felix and didn't get in. Or 3, I should say. Beltran, who I just mentioned, Andrew Jones, and Chase Utley. That's it. The other guys who finished ahead of Felix either got in, so they won't be on the ballot next year, or are steroid guys, so they're not getting in no matter what. Next year's ballot does not contain a lot of dudes. I do think it'll help Felix rise through those ranks, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's significantly higher than 21% next year.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Well, there could be a little competition for the Seahawks as they look to hire an offensive coordinator. We already, at least suspect, maybe even know that there's a possibility Hank Fraley will have suitors in either Detroit and almost definitely in Chicago. We also learned yesterday that Clint Kubiak could be of interest to the Jets. Now, Aaron Glenn, it sounds like will probably be hired there probably today. Of course, Glenn was the defensive coordinator in Detroit, and apparently one of his favorites is Clint Kubiak. So you got a little challenge for at least 2 of your 3 candidates that we know have come in for second interviews. Brian Baldinger joined us yesterday, and he went right to Kubiak as an offensive coordinator choice for the Seahawks.
I think Clint Kubiak is a good coach. Things fell apart in Seattle, in New Orleans last year, all the way around. But, they started the season off as the hottest offense in football. Now, it fell apart pretty quickly. But I feel like Clint Kubiak and that Shanahan tree, Gary Kubiak, Clint, his son, I feel like that tree of, stretch runs, play action passes off it. I feel like you can add power to it. I think there's some flexibility in the run game there. But I feel like that's a good-looking symphony when it's working well together.
Well, he's one of a few people who have gone in that direction. Certainly Dan Orlovsky did as well when we spoke with him last week. You can hear the entire interview with Baldinger coming up here in about 10 minutes. Meanwhile, old friend Brian Schottenheimer's getting a head coaching interview, at least, in Dallas. Josh McDaniels going to try to be the OC in New England for the 3rd time now. He got hired yesterday, and Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell gets a massive extension to stay in Minnesota, fully quashing all of those silly trade rumors.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Kraken off today. They'll be home tomorrow against Capitals. Something does seem to have clicked with them over the last 3 games. They played a lot better, winning 2 of those games, and really should have, or at least could have, won the Winnipeg game as well against excellent competition. So what is it? Because we've seen fits and starts from the Kraken before. Hey, they won 3 straight. Oh, no, they just lost 8. Hey, they won 4. Oh, no, they just lost 7 of 8. Like, that seems to have kind of been their theme. For me, in hockey, when things start going well, I generally point to physical play, and I don't think it's an accident that having John Hayden on the 4th line has helped kick that physicality up a notch. Is he a great player? No, of course not. 4th line guy who's been in Coachella most of the last couple of years. But he brings a physical game, and he plays with a little reckless abandon, and I do think that's something this team could usually use more of. So, more John Hayden, please. That is everything you need to know, and, of course, we do that 1/4 every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. Let's see. A couple texts. People trying to figure out why Ichiro people wouldn't vote for him. I don't know. Others saying, I thought you found out who voted for the Hall of Fame. You do not. That is, you can. I mean, a lot of the guys in the BBWA, et cetera, make their ballots public, but not everyone is forced to. So, look, they've purged that list a lot over the last few years. It used to be there were guys like that hadn't been around baseball in a decade that were still getting Hall of Fame ballots mailed to them, and then they'd, mail them back in. You'd be like, this person clearly doesn't even watch the game. Like, they haven't been around the game in forever, and they're still voting on this. So they have done a good job to clear out some of that and start to add in some of the newer media statistical analysis, people that are looking at the game differently from your baseball writers in the 1980s and 90s. Like, that has changed, but it's not 100%. And there are still some people out there who like to prove a point and like to hide behind a little veil while they're doing it, and it's pretty weak.
Make your ballots public. I could go on a rant and tangent about this forever. You're going to do things like not vote for Ichiro. Put out your ballot. Make it public. You deserve to get scrutinized.
What's your number one reason why? Give me your number one reason why they should make it public.
Because I want to hear people's reasoning, or people should at least get to see the face behind the name for why you're not voting for certain
So
people.
let me give you the opposite argument. Social media, this world we live in today, mob mentality. People generally go with whatever they are. A lot of people go with whatever they are seeing in order to avoid those arguments and fights and getting doxxed or God knows whatever else happens to people these days. People want to keep their ballot anonymous so that the common thinking doesn't become the only line of thinking, that there is room for a minority opinion without getting destroyed for it.
Okay, so that's fine if you want to do things like not vote for Carlos Beltran or Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
If you're going to do things like not vote for Ichiro and Junior and other guys like that.
Yeah, I'm obviously not in favor of what happened. I'm just trying to give you there's no excuse for not voting for Ichiro.
Right.
Or Junior or any of those guys.
Willie Mays. Yeah.
Sure, there's no excuse. I mean, I've already said that. But I can understand an argument for anonymity, especially in a world where we do tend to get caught up in what everyone else is saying we should do. That's not always the best way to vote. And I do think that there is an element of that is at least defensible. I think you could absolutely be right. If they went to anonymous balloting, would I be upset? No, of course. Or to make your ballot public, would I be upset? No. Mm-hmm. But I think there's at least an argument on the other side that warrants merit.
Fair enough.
We got a lot to do today. As I said, Greg Bishop's going to be in for a couple of hours telling stories. I want you guys to hear from Brian Baldinger because that dude watches more film than anybody, and he's got lots of opinions on your Seattle Seahawks. So stick around. You'll hear it next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Talking Ichiro Suzuki with the voice of the Mariners, Rick Riz.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball. If he put the ball in play, which he did a million times, Ichiro had a chance to be safe. Now, if he wanted to, as you know, he could hit the ball out of the ballpark. He could win the home run derby. But his game was to hit the ball the other way, put the ball on the ground, get to first base, steal second, and score runs. And he did that as well as anybody in the history of the game of baseball.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
Matt Coker here with West Coast Men's Health. In the past 5 years, we've seen thousands of men at our clinics. Most guys tell us the same story, that in their early 50s, it's not that they couldn't function, they just needed help. They started taking Viagra, and it worked great at first. But after a few years, it stopped working. The problem is that their arteries had become more restricted since they started taking it, because Viagra does not unclog arteries. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we use acoustic wave therapy to target the real problem. We break down plaque and clear up the arteries so blood can flow like it did in your 20s. This restores function. And guys, listen to this. You won't have to take a pill anymore. So if this sounds like you, give West Coast Men's Health a call today and see how we can help.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Hey Seahawks fans, Tyler Lockett for Brown Bear Car Wash. We've got the perfect play for a spotless car. With the Unlimited Wash Club, you can keep your car game ready all season long. It isn't clean unless it's Brown Bear clean.
At O'Neill Plumbing, we've been exclusively plumbers for over 100 years. No corny mascots, no out-of-town owners. Just clean, fast, and professional plumbers out to your home fast. All rooter and all trenchless. O'Neill Plumbing.
Breast cancer is a tough battle for anyone to fight, but without support, it can be devastating. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide a lifeline to breast and gynecologic cancer patients in our community. Help us make a difference by joining us at Cork, Fork, and Support, an afternoon of wine tasting and community on February the 1st at the Hollywood Schoolhouse in Woodinville. Get your tickets now for February the 1st. Go to nwhopeandhealing.org to learn more. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code BUY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code BUY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code BUY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
It's time to vote for the top athletes and sports stories of 2024. Be part of history and help choose the sports stars of the year from a knockout roster representing the best in Washington sports. Cast your vote for the sports story of the year. Was it the Seawolves playoff run, the Kraken making history, or UW rowing dominating the Olympics? You decide. Vote now at seattlesports.org and enter for a chance to see the winners announced live at the 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Awards, presented by Microsoft.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
If it's a new year and a new you, it begins with a new car. At Toyota of Kirkland, they're ready for your resolutions. Come see the beautiful showroom and wonderful team at Toyota of Kirkland to kick off 2025. Check out the wide selection of Tundras, Tacomas, and RAV4s. Get electrified in your ride with Toyota of Kirkland's inventory of Prius and the BZ4X. The best way to start the new year is by visiting Toyota of Kirkland in person or online at toyotaofkirkland.com.
G. Scott here to share how you can help the Southern California Fire Disaster Relief Campaign to support communities affected by the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires. Through January, you can make a difference by donating at your neighborhood Safeway checkout. 100% of your contributions will benefit food banks, shelters, and nonprofits providing essential aid, including food, shelter, and financial assistance for those impacted. Together, we can bring hope and relief to our neighbors. To support families in need, donate at your local Safeway today.
Brock and Salk's Rewind is presented by Toyota of Kirkland.
From Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, rolling along here, Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710. And it's good to actually be here, Brock, on a day where Brian Baldinger joins us. I feel like I've been out for a few of them. Brian, good morning. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
Well, good morning, guys. Good to be with you. Thank you.
So what is what day is today? Tuesday. So is it a little nicer for Brian Baldinger on a Monday that you can crank through those 4 games a little faster than you can the 15 or 16 normally on a Monday for you, Baldy?
Definitely, Brock. I got a little bit more sleep than I normally do. But, yeah, it's a little bit easier this time of the year. I got actually most of Saturday's games done on Saturday night. So really just had to concentrate on 2 games yesterday. So it's a little bit of a breather right now for me.
I like
any big picture theme jump out of those 4 games? As you studied that tape, is there, Salk and I obviously talked a bunch about this, reacting to all those games yesterday on the show, but is there anything in Brian Baldinger's decade-long experience in the NFL that you watched that round, great round of games, any theme that jumped out in particular?
Well, I mean, it's like the more things change, Brock, the more they stay the same. I mean, you just look at the turnover battle in these games. And, you know, whether it's Lamar in Baltimore, whether it's Jared Goff in Detroit, or, you know, whether it's, Philadelphia and the Rams and losing 2 fumbles. I mean, those plays just change these games. And the teams that are marching on all took care of the football, didn't turn it over. And, in special teams, in Houston's case, was their Achilles heel, whether it's missing field goals, extra points, having kickoff returns against you. Like they couldn't overcome that. So I feel like it still comes down to taking care of the football, yet still being aggressive the way we saw Washington on 4th downs, the way we saw Josh Downs on 4th downs and making plays. Those things, you still have to be aggressive at the same time. You have to take care of the football.
How do those observations fit with whatever trends you saw develop really over the course of this whole season?
Well, I mean, you look at Washington, you look at Philadelphia. It's not so much here with Detroit, but Buffalo for sure. I mean, there's a real emphasis on running the football. Now, Andy Reid's different. He's got Mahomes. He's always come out of the tunnel throwing it. But, there's Jalen Hurts just, outside of the game where he got hurt on the 12th play against Washington in Week 16, he's 12-0 as the starting quarterback here in his last 12 starts. And he's thrown 1 interception in those 12 games. And so people can criticize his quarterback play or whatever. They're not losing games because of the quarterback right now. And so they have other ways to win games. And so, it's just a careless turnover by Lamar off a bad snap by his center. And it's just a careless turnover. I don't know, Brock, you're the quarterback, but how do you have miscommunication on his first interception where Taylor Rapp intercepts it, yet there's a miscommunication between him and Rashad Bateman. Lamar's throwing the go route. Bateman's running the 7-cut. Like, how does that happen in the 20th week of the season?
Yeah. Yep, shouldn't happen, unfortunately. Anything, Baldy, when you mentioned the run game, anything jump out, as you could imagine, and we'll get to Seattle here in a second, and they're interviewing people for their OC job and everything else. Anything in the run game in 2024, now into 2025, jump out to you in today's NFL?
It feels like, especially, I live in Philly, Brock, so I watch that team, really closely. But, the power running game is back. And, you're seeing Joe Gibbs' style of counter Trey. Washington runs it. Philadelphia runs it. Kansas City loves to pull Trey Smith. We're seeing a lot more. Buffalo loves to pull their tackles more than any other team in this league right now. We're seeing a lot of power football in the run game. And, for a long time, Brock, I mean, you watch college football every Saturday. We saw, the spread offense, and, it looked kind of boring and dull in college watching Riley Leonard run into the line of scrimmage against Ohio State and not getting any – like, power football is back, whether the quarterback's running it or whether the running back is running it. I feel like the return to that part of the run game is you can clearly look at these 4 teams standing and how all 4 teams love to run it.
Do you think that's going to lead then to some changes in the types of linebackers that we see through college and into the NFL? Because, after the end of the Ted Johnson style guys that Brock and I have talked about before, Levon Kirkland, some of those guys, you got basically glorified safeties running around at middle linebacker because everybody had to stop the passes over the middle. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised, right? The power running game has come back into vogue because what are you going to do against those smaller linebackers? Run them over.
Well, Bobby Wagner is not getting run over. Leo Chenal is 255 pounds at Kansas City. They find ways to keep him on the field. Drew Tranquill is a beast. Nick Bolton can take on anybody. That's Kansas City. Buffalo does have undersized linebackers. People think that that's a weakness, but they fly so fast and are so aggressive and play off each other so well. I feel like, the inside tandem of linebackers is really important. You could point to Philadelphia's number one ranked defense over the last, 13, 14 weeks of the season to the play of Zach Bond and how magnificent he is. I mean, he just fills up the stat page every single week. He did again last week, but he's just been an amazing player. And nobody saw it except that he did go to Wisconsin. There was a time when Wisconsin trained linebackers and cross-trained linebackers like nobody else in college football. And we still see all those players, Leo Chenal, Zach Bond, we see those guys all over the field right now.
The voice of Brian Baldinger, kind enough on a Tuesday here to talk a little NFL and what we all saw and experienced over the weekend in the divisional round and pushing ahead to championship weekend. So, Baldy, if John Schneider flew you out to Seattle and you were consulting him and Mike McDonald in this offensive coordinator search, and Mike said to you, hey, Baldy, what do you think, man? What is the best way? I'm hiring an OC. What is the family that you would feel most comfortable with? Would you feel comfortable with the whole Shanahan family? Is that run game and play action still the very best in the league? Are you liking some of these power concepts? Hank Fraley's in for a second interview and what they did in Detroit. If Brian Baldinger's consulting, what family of the run game and line of scrimmage do you prefer?
I think Clint Kubiak is a good coach. Things fell apart in Seattle, in New Orleans last year, all the way around. But, they started the season off as the hottest offense in football. Now, it fell apart pretty quickly. But I feel like Clint Kubiak and that Shanahan tree, Gary Kubiak, Clint, his son, I feel like that tree of, stretch runs, play action passes off it. I feel like you can add power to it. I think there's some flexibility in the run game there. But I feel like that's a good-looking symphony when it's working well together. So I feel like, that's, what they did in Seattle this year with Ryan Grubb. I mean, I tried to duplicate what he did at Washington. It didn't work. But I feel like Kubiak could be very successful in that up there in Seattle, especially with the receivers that they have and some of the linemen that they have, some of the athletic ability that Charles Cross and some of those guys have.
How far away is this offensive line? I mean, we talk about them a lot here, as you might imagine. How far away from being not just serviceable, but, a real asset is this offensive line?
I don't feel like they're very far away, especially if Big Abe can stay healthy. I feel like if Abe's on the field, I feel like they're better. It looked like they found some guards later as the year went on that they kind of fell in love with, but that might change. I feel like Ole is a good player at center. He might be a little undersized, but maybe in the right scheme he can be good because I know how smart he is. But I don't feel like they're that far away. I feel like, they're losing the two tight ends really hurt them in free agency last year, and I don't think they've really recovered because I thought both those guys were good blockers and good in the role, especially when they went three tight ends. So I think losing them hurt them. But I think overall, we've seen these teams build these offenses almost overnight with the right scheme and the right personnel.
That echoes very much, Baldy, something that Daniel Jeremiah said to us a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna fire this cut at you, and I think
let me hear what DJ said.
Yeah, you kind of answered it right there, but we asked him about fixing this O-line that's been a perennial issue for a long time here in Seattle. Here's what DJ, do you got that, Lyle? Here's what DJ had to say about that and the timing and how quickly you can turn things around.
Oh, hold on, we got to turn that up, Charles.
I actually think it can all happen in this offseason. To me, the tackles are fine. I think you can win with the tackles. To me, it's the interior three that needs to be addressed, and those aren't premium positions that don't require premium picks. You can attack that with day 2 picks and get massive upgrades. You can go into the free agent market and find an upgrade. I think that's 100% doable.
So you can fix it overnight? You can fix it with a second-round pick. I don't know, maybe that Becton dude out there in Philly that's like 500 pounds and throwing dudes out of the club.
If you look at Washington right now, it's a perfect marriage with Cliff and Jaden for sure. But, they went to free agency and got Allegretti, and they got Andrew Wiley, and they went and signed Tyler Biotis, who's a really good player. I feel like you're as good up front as your center. And so I don't know if Connor Williams is the answer or Olu is the answer, but I feel like they could upgrade the center position right now. But I'm with DJ. Like, free agency and, you you look at San Francisco and what they did in the draft last year, and, they went out and they drafted Dominic Pooney out of Kansas. I think he was a third-round pick. I believe Pooney started every game and played every snap for him this year. Mm-hmm. And he was a really good player from day one. So I'm with DJ. I mean, day 2 picks or day 3 picks sometimes, and the right free agent mix, I feel like that could be addressed and fixed immediately.
That's a hard one, Pooney, especially because the Seahawks could have had him. I mean, he was drafted just a few spots after they took a different guard who barely played for them this year and, in fact, got passed by a guy who was a 7th rounder. So it sort of opens up some of these questions. I don't expect GMs to be perfect, and they're going to get stuff wrong, and that's just sort of the nature of the NFL business. But as you kind of look at where the Seahawks are at today and some of the big decisions they've made in the draft over the last few years, do you like the direction they went, which gives them Byron Murphy and really Devin Witherspoon, or the road not traveled, which could have included Jalen Carter, Mikey Sainrissil maybe to play the same spot as Spoon, and a 2nd-round pick, Jared Verse, who they could have had instead of Murphy? How do you start to look at the last couple drafts for the Seahawks?
Well, I mean, if you could have had Jalen Carter, I mean, he's the best interior defensive lineman in this league. And he just keeps getting better. And he dominated the game on Sunday. And he plays the game with a veracity and an intensity, or just a level of violence that is rarely seen anymore. And then look, Big Cat had a great year. But, I mean, there's no comparing. I mean, Byron Murphy's a good player. And I think he has a chance. Like, usually you got to give him a 2nd or 3rd year to see the development. But the talent of Jalen Carter was that we saw that coming out of Georgia. You can debate some off the field issues that might have dropped him, but we haven't seen talent like that come into this league, since Aaron Donald. So if you could go back and redraft and take Jalen Carter, you would go back and draft Jalen Carter.
Has there been any of the character issue? I know that was a concern, not only in Seattle, but with a number of teams. Has that been a challenge at all there in Philadelphia with him?
No, not at all. I mean, he's just been he's been a model citizen, and he looks like he loves the game of football, and he hasn't had any issues. And since Philadelphia does a good job of protecting their players, and if anything happened, it usually doesn't leak out. They got guys that do that. Without knowing anything more than that, Brock, he looks like, and I've gotten to know him a little bit. I know his agent pretty good down here in South Florida. It looks like it's all about ball right now for the kid.
And you know what? If he played in your era, Baldy, when he picked Stafford up the other day, he could have pile drived him 6 feet deep into the ground too.
He would have left an imprint in Lincoln Financial Field, or at least a big snow angel at that point.
Yes, of all the players in the league today, if you could take one of them to bring them back to your era, who would you like to bring back to the era you played
in? Well, Trey Smith of Kansas City is, that guy plays the game the way, just with the level of violence and ferociousness. Like, the guy is going to get the biggest contract this year by any guard ever signed. After 4 years, I don't know if he's missed a game in Kansas City. I don't think he has. He's probably missed a handful of plays in 4 years. I see him at OL Masterminds every year after winning back-to-back Super Bowls, and he's in the front row talking to Mark Schlereth and talking to Hall of Famers and writing notes. Like, that's who he is. And he's 6'5", and he's 320 pounds. He's a block of granite, and he's violent. Like, that guy could play with, Dick Butkus. He could play in any era. He's just special, man. That guy's just a special player.
Hey, last thing for me here, and appreciate all the time, Baldy. As always, your generosity with us. Appreciate it. Hank Fraley, how big of a deal is an O-line coach, and how unique is this guy and set apart maybe from some of his peers as O-line coaches in the league?
I think he's not waived. We saw Bill Callahan, what he did, across the league. Everywhere he went, the offensive line's improved. I feel like Hank is, on that path. I mean, he played a game. He played in Philly here. He was a free agent. He went to UCLA. He came to Detroit. I mean, I don't know all the other stops, probably a couple others. But that guy paid his dues, and he sees the game the right way. I remember when Hank and John Runyon anchored the Philadelphia offensive line. They were just, they were classic offensive linemen, just put a lampshade over their head, put them in the corner, turn the lights out, and they'll have a good time. I feel like you're hearing what Frank Ragnow has to say about him. He's one of them, and it all runs downhill. I'm sure it's running downhill right now in Detroit, losing this, this divisional playoff game at home. He knows how to take the criticism, yet keep it in-house. They had a backup right guard in there. They had a backup left guard in there at times this year. They didn't skip a beat. They're well molded. They're well coached up front. I mean, yeah, it helps to have the talent of Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow, but there's something about that room that has to feel special where you're just, you speak with one mind, you're united as a group. And I feel like Detroit's gotten that from Hank. And if he would go someplace else, he would take that same spirit with him.
Why do you put a lampshade on them in the corner? I'm curious how that works.
Because nobody wants to pay attention to them.
Okay.
Nobody listens to anything that they say.
I see.
They're just boring people. We take out the trash on Sunday night. We drink beers in the parking lots after the game.
Sure.
We're the last one standing. Like we're what the team is built around.
I was imagining sort of like the dog thing where they're not allowed to chew on their paws. So you put what looks like a lampshade around their head, and then they're not allowed to chew on the, whatever injuries they have.
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to talk about their injuries. There's a fine jar every time they talk to the media.
Sure.
They know it. They put the $20 in there. They'll pay for a keg at the end of the season. It's just they're pretty simple people.
Last thing, you see these quarterbacks that are, have just been tremendous throughout this postseason, and the guys that are moving on, and it's Mahomes, and it's Allen, and it's this Jaden Daniels that might be the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen, and it really starts to tell a story. If you are the Seahawks, how important is it that you look to be finding your quarterback of the future, or are you just reinvesting around Geno Smith to try to win a Super Bowl with him at the helm?
I like this. I mean, Geno threw for more yards than he's ever thrown before, and the numbers are big. They won 10 games in rookie coach's first year without much of a running game because of injuries or a battered offensive line. I mean, it's going to be hard to improve upon 70% completion. You'd like the turnovers to be fewer, for sure. But I always think you got to be looking to the future. I mean, you just do. I mean, if there's somebody out there that, without going crazy in the first round, if there's somebody out there you can kind of groom and develop, and maybe you can find a guy, you got to do it. But, I mean, all these guys that you're looking at, Jaden's the second pick, Mahomes the 11th pick or 10th pick. The one guy, is Jalen Hurts, and they found him with the 53rd pick in the second round. I mean, if there's somebody out there, Riley Leonard, whoever, out there in the second or third round that you can bring on board, that you can begin that process and maybe they flourish, I think you got to take a look at it.
I love it. Baldy, thanks so much. Always love watching your breakdowns, listening to the breakdowns, playing them on the show, which we do all the time, and love to talk about what you do, watching film, and the passion with which you talk about it. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Yep.
Really cool stuff.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime, man. Enjoy Championship Sunday.
All right, there you go. That was Brian Baldinger, who joined us yesterday. And, yeah, some folks didn't like the Jalen Carter comment. 209 says Jalen Carter was not more impactful than Leonard Williams. Okay. I mean, I can't tell you whether you're right or wrong. I didn't watch every Eagles game, watch the film, and break it down like an ex-lineman like Baldy can. But I think I'll trust him when he says he's the most impactful lineman in the league. Again, you could have had both those guys together. There's no reason to not. I mean, you could have had both of them. Yeah, the Jalen Carter one's going to stick for a while. It will. Because you had the opportunity. You knew how talented he was. You bet against him being able to kind of walk the straight arrow line. And at least so far, he's done it. Now, again, that career is far from done, and we'll see what directions it goes. And maybe he wouldn't have been as happy here, and maybe having the Georgia teammates are like, there's a lot of extra stuff. It's not simple cut and dry. But it'd be really helpful to have a Jalen Carter. You could pair him with a Leonard Williams and a Jaron Reed. That'd be pretty good front three, don't you think? Like, I'd be okay with that, I think. And then, you wouldn't have Devin Witherspoon in that scenario, which stinks. Devin Witherspoon's awesome. But guys like Mikey Sainrissil were available the next year in the second round. You could have had him, right? And, oh, by the way, you could have had then Jared Verse because you wouldn't have needed Byron Murphy. Well, he's pretty good on the outside. And, you hear that whole conversation. He didn't even know when he said it, but when he brings up Dominic Puna, that's going to be a sore spot here. It should be. Third-round pick, taken like 5 picks after the Seahawks took a dude who's barely played for them in Christian Haynes, who just has not played and got passed by a 7th-rounder and an undrafted guy. Not a great sign. Not a great sign at all, right? So, again, these things are hard. Again, I don't mind the guys that are here. I like a lot of them. Like them a lot. I think Byron Murphy and Devin Witherspoon, good players. But, he sort of stumbled into some sore spots, I think, here for Seattle Seahawks fans. All right, coming up next, Ichiro is in the Hall of Fame, but I have some really good news if you want Felix to be there as well. Explain next. Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com.
Ichiro is headed to Cooperstown.
The unbelievable has happened!
Celebrating the career of Ichiro Suzuki.
I may joke around, but I really think it's great that we get a chance to play together.
I agree.
I'm here to tell you that Ichiro threw something out of Star Wars down there.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is. He's a new all-time hit king.
Join Seattle Sports in congratulating Ichiro Suzuki on a Hall of Fame career with your Seattle Mariners.
Do we really need to know what a plumber does? Or can we focus on the fact that at O'Neill Plumbing, we're a 4th-generation plumbing company with over 100 years of service. Just clean, fast, and professional plumbers, all rooter and all trenchless. O'Neill Plumbing.
Does your yard need shade, privacy, or a little brightening up? Look no further than Big Trees. I'm Nancy Penrose, owner of Big Trees in Snohomish. At our 30-acre location, there are thousands of trees to choose from and knowledgeable staff, including a board-certified master arborist, to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Visit the nursery and learn more about Big Trees at bigtreesupply.com.
Beauty, privacy, instantly. Big Trees.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Do you leave your car running unoccupied to warm up or stay warm during the winter? Don't do it. Car thieves call those steamers. They're watching for you and they'll steal your car before you know it. Every winter, Washington sees an uptick in auto theft, and a major reason is steamers. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep you and your vehicle safe. Don't get caught with your car running. These tips are brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
At Sound Pain Solutions, some of the most difficult cases we see are patients suffering from failed back surgery syndrome. Bill is an avid golfer, but his pain got so bad he couldn't play and was considering surgery.
My back was killing me. I could not play any more golf. I could not walk more than half a block. I did not want surgery on my back, and I researched many different ways of getting this fixed. Behind that was horror stories from my friends who had back surgery, but it wasn't worth it, and I just made conclusion to that. There's got to be another way.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We were able to get Bill back on the course without the risk of surgery. We did this using non-invasive, FDA-cleared procedures like non-surgical decompression, laser, pressure wave, and bioelectrical treatments. Now, Bill is back to playing golf and enjoying life. Schedule a free consultation to learn if you qualify for our non-surgical and drug-free treatment by calling Sound Pain Solutions or visiting soundpainsolutions.com.
Planning to propose this Valentine's Day? Shane Company has your back.
Our easy process to create your dream engagement ring is rock solid. 1, pick your ring setting. 2, choose your center stone. 3, personalize it. With our wide selection of beautiful settings and hand-picked diamonds and gemstones, all at competitive prices, your ring will be as unique as your love story. We'll hand-set your ring in our jeweler's workshop right here in our store and protect it with our free lifetime warranty. Walk in with a dream, walk out with the ring that will take their breath away. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
If you're looking for a new Mazda, go see our friends at Mazda of Everett. With over 790 new Mazdas in stock at 11409 Highway 99 in Everett, they have something for every budget and credit type. Save up to $3,970 on new Mazda CX-5s. Come meet the team and see why they've been Washington's largest Mazda dealer since 2015. Exceptional service and always their lowest prices. Visit in-store or online at MazdaofEverett.com today.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get more of the NFL with NFL Plus and start streaming more touchdowns, more hurdles, more action. Just a tremendous play. NFL Plus has you covered. Stream the NFL postseason and Super Bowl 56 live on mobile. Touchdown! Plus, stay connected throughout the offseason with special coverage of the NFL Scouting Combine, NFL Draft, and more. Let's go! Yeah! Subscribe today at plus.nfl.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
This hour of the Brock and Salk Show is powered by Star Rentals, preferred supplier to the West's best contractors.
Get in the freaking auto! From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Eward and Matt Marcus. Sorry about just Mike.
Eward, not exactly Joe Cap there in the pocket.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Eward and Mike Salk.
All right, rolling along here, Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports 710, seattlesports.com. Yes, I should tell you all that we will speak with our friend Greg Bishop, who will be here in an hour to spend 2 hours with us, which can be fun. Telling stories, all the people he's been writing about. I think he's got some Lindsey Vonn stuff, Cam Jordan stuff, and just, you know, always just crazy stories of being an SI cover writer and all the cool stuff that he is around. So he'll be in for an hour today. Of course, we'll still have Daniel Jeremiah, which we'll look forward to at 8:30 as well. Yeah, I did say yesterday I had a feeling there would be an issue with the unanimity for Ichiro, and I was right. He did not go in unanimously. It was very close. Only one person saw fit not to vote for Ichiro for the Hall of Fame, which, of course, is silly and stupid and doesn't make a lot of sense. But, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. Maybe they just were confused or concussed. Maybe they were trying to make some silly point. I don't know what point it would be. Ichiro has the numbers, obviously. He has the impact, both on the game and on really culture around him in two different countries. He played the game with class and dignity always. I mean, I don't know what you would look for. The only two things, I guess you could say, maybe two, really, that you could maybe, if you really wanted to get there, point to Ichiro, is you would say he didn't win any championships, right? Didn't play in the playoffs, and he didn't hit for enough power. And this whole idea of, he didn't want to hit for power. He wanted to do something else, and maybe there's a reason they should have, I don't know. I have a hard time asking a player to be someone that they're not. Yeah, he could have maybe hit for more power, would have sacrificed some of the other stuff. Maybe. Like, that's also an unknown. And it certainly isn't anything that should keep someone out of the Hall of Fame. Doesn't make any sense. So again, maybe there's a positive here. Maybe it brings more people to the conversation. Maybe. Probably not. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it, but I don't think so. Anyway, Ichiro gets in. It's a really cool story. We mentioned earlier, kind of bizarre that the 4 players to go in with the highest percentage of votes, who are in order, Rivera, Jeter, Ichiro, Griffey, that it is 2 Yankees and 2 Mariners. And it's an oddity of baseball that these 2 franchises that have very different histories have these 4 players that are right at the top of the Hall of Fame voting percentage-wise. Just kind of strange. I did start looking ahead to next year. Not that I'm ready to skip over Ichiro. We'll be playing sound from yesterday throughout all of Need to Know and this morning, and I'll ask Greg about him. And cool that they're going to retire his number. I like that they're just going to do it right away. Kevin Martinez making that announcement yesterday, new Mariner president. And so, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is going to be incredibly well done. The Mariners are excellent at this. And as Shannon mentioned yesterday, we'll wait and find out whether or not he sets the record for the most number of people in attendance when he gets to Cooperstown this summer, because he's not only going to draw from the enormous American audience, but from obviously a Japanese and Asian audience. And if people decide that, hey, we've got to go see Ichiro in this moment, the people that packed the airport 4 or 5 deep with flashbulbs everywhere that Shannon described yesterday, yeah, you may end up with a record crowd in attendance in Cooperstown. I got a buddy whose kid is playing in a Cooperstown tournament. He's got to be, 11 or 12, playing in a Cooperstown tournament that weekend. It's going to be a madhouse, absolute madhouse. Anyway, I did start looking ahead to next year because I was looking at the Felix stuff. Not much on the ballot for next year. Very few newcomers that look like Hall of Famers, if any, for next year. The only guy that I saw that looked like he had a chance to be a Hall of Famer next year eventually was Cole Hamels. That was it. Nobody else. I didn't see anyone else that looked like they were going to be a Hall of Famer. Give you some of the list. I mean, the highlights, Cole Hamels, who I mentioned, Ryan Braun, steroid guy, and I don't think he's a Hall of Famer anyway, but steroid guy, tested positive, so that's not going to happen. Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon's not a Hall of Famer. He's a really good player. I really enjoyed him. He was supposed to be a Hall of Famer when he was drafted 2nd overall, but he was not one. Shin-Soo Choo, good player, not a Hall of Famer. Edwin Encarnacion, no. Hunter Pence, won a couple World Series and was a big part of them, but he's not a Hall of Famer. Nor is Matt Kemp or Rick Porcello. I mean, those guys aren't Hall of Famers. The one guy on this list for next year that's even going to be in consideration, I think, is Cole Hamels. All right, so let's look at where Felix was. 20.6% he got yesterday, which is a pretty good start. Billy Wagner got in yesterday. I think his first year he got 10%. So Felix is already doubling up on Billy Wagner. And Billy Wagner deserves to get in. I'm 100% all in on Billy Wagner. Love the guy. Great player, Hall of Famer. And I actually think you can make a pretty good argument for Felix. I know there's going to be people who are like, Salk, you wanted Felix out of town. No, I thought that the Mariners were wasting Felix and needed to trade him in order to bring back different value. And by the very end, Felix wasn't the same guy he'd been. But I'm also the same guy who watched Felix, and anytime he walked somebody, thought that he must be hurt because he was that kind of special. One of the 3 best pitchers I've ever had an opportunity to watch every day, along with Pedro and along with Clemens, but I was just a kid, really, for Clemens. Got a chance to watch Pedro pitch every 5 days, got a chance to watch Felix every 5 days. Felix is the only guy I've ever watched that compares to Pedro every day. And Pedro's a Hall of Famer, obviously. I think you can make a case. What I need for the Hall of Fame, be one of the dominant players of your generation. And Felix was. So in my book, Felix is a Hall of Famer. So is Billy Wagner. Carlos Beltran, I would vote for Felix over Carlos Beltran. And Beltran's a great player. Hall of Famer? Maybe. Yeah, okay. If he gets in, I'm not going to be upset. Same with Chase Utley. Same with Andrew Jones. I'd probably vote for Andrew Jones over the other 2. But those were so 3 guys got in. right? Felix, remember, you vote for 10. Felix, 3 guys get in. Ichiro, Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia. So those 3 come off the voting next year, okay? Who were they replaced by? Well, we just went through it. Essentially, Cole Hamels and no one else. So Felix is going to move up, you would think, by at least 3, maybe 4 spots at that point. Okay, who's ahead of him? I think next year Beltran gets in. He was over 70%. He's probably getting in next year. That's the way it goes. Andrew Jones has a shot at it. Probably not Chase Utley yet. But okay, those 3 guys are going to get votes and in large quantity. After that, the only players ahead of Felix this past year were steroid guys. That's it. And those guys aren't getting in. I don't think their vote numbers are going to change much. Being allowed or having room to vote for more people isn't going to cause the non-steroid voters to start voting for the steroid guys. They would have voted for Bonds already. They would have voted for Roger already. They would have voted for Manny and all of those guys. Like, those guys have Hall of Fame numbers. So if you believe that they're not in the Hall of Fame, that belief is unlikely to change in the next year or two. So all of the people that didn't vote for them still aren't going to vote for them. And now they've got a lot of open spots on their ballot because 3 guys are gone and they're only being replaced by Cole Hamels. So who would you vote for, Felix or Cole Hamels? Well, here I did some of the comp last night. They couldn't be more similar, by the way. It's crazy how similar their numbers are. Hamels wins a few categories, maybe more categories, but not by a lot. I mean, like, by just a teeny bit. WAR was a little higher. He had about 10 more wins in terms of WAR over his career. But he pitched in 4 more games. He pitched 4 more starts. Felix pitched like 30 more innings. It's crazy. In all of that time, 30 innings separates them. Felix had 6 more wins, but also 14 more losses. Their ERA was separated by 0.01. 3.42 for Felix, 3.43 for Cole Hamels. Hamels had like 30 more strikeouts, 36 more strikeouts. I mean, Hamels has a championship, 4 All-Stars, and a World Series MVP. Felix has 6 All-Stars, a Cy Young, and 2 ERA titles. I mean, if you think one is a Hall of Famer, you think the other is a Hall of Famer. Those numbers, to me, are virtually identical. Certainly, they're not significantly statistically, different enough to vote for one guy and not the other. So, I think Felix does have a shot at it in the next couple of years. I'm not saying he's definitely going to get there, and eventually some other people are going to come onto the ballot and make it harder for him. But you start to gain momentum and you go from 20% in year 1 to 45% next year, which to me wouldn't be impossible. And I think you got a chance for Felix Hernandez to eventually join Ichiro and Griffey and Edgar in the Hall of Fame. And we'll see if that will happen here over the next couple of seasons. Come right back with everything else you need to know, including the latest on the OC search, which took a couple of hits yesterday. It's next on Brock and Salk.
Ichiro is headed to Cooperstown.
The unbelievable has happened!
Celebrating the career of Ichiro Suzuki.
I may joke around, but I really think it's great that we get a chance to play together.
I agree. I'm here to tell you that Ichiro drew something out of Star Wars down there.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is. He's a new all-time hit king.
Join Seattle Sports in congratulating Ichiro Suzuki on a Hall of Fame career with your Seattle Mariners.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
G. Scott here to share how you can help the Southern California Fire Disaster Relief Campaign to support communities affected by the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires. Through January, you can make a difference by donating at your neighborhood Safeway checkout. 100% of your contributions will benefit food banks, shelters, and nonprofits providing essential aid, including food, shelter, and financial assistance for those impacted. Together, we can bring hope and relief to our neighbors. To support families in need, donate at your local Safeway today.
Mariners single game tickets for 2025 are on sale now. The squad will be back in action before you know it. And now's the time to lock in your seats for the biggest games next season. Don't miss opening day on March 27th. Incredible giveaways like the Julio Bat Flip Bubble and matchups versus the Dodgers, Yankees, and more. Plus, check out 30 value games with tickets starting at just $10. Go to Mariners.com to get your tickets today.
A deep blast. This is gone. Home run. Julio.
Hey, sell your car to Wayscar Ford, and when they resell it, they share half their profit with you. That's right. Sell your car to Wayscar Ford in Auburn. They'll pay you today for your car, and once they resell it, they'll share half their profit with you. Go to wayscarford.com for complete details.
In between storms, have Asset Roofing do a roof inspection. They're going to make sure shingles are intact and clean up any moss, giving you peace of mind now and saving you thousands years later.
Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Safety comes first. When money is tight, don't neglect maintenance on your vehicle. Keep it safe. At Bucky's Complete Auto, we have you covered with available financing. For over 50 years, Bucky's Complete Auto has been servicing and repairing cars and trucks with modern-day technology and good old-fashioned customer service. There's a Bucky's just about everywhere for oil changes, wiper blades, brakes, tire rotation, tune-ups, and factory maintenance. No appointment necessary and financing's available. Check Bucky's.com for the location near you.
Hi, I'm Adrian, owner of Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Treating your home with care is important to me. At Lake Washington Windows and Doors, we offer premium windows that are 25% more energy efficient, reduce noise by 50%, and come with clean glass technology. And Leak Armor installation gives you a lifetime warranty to protect your home. Right now, save $600 per installed window and $1,200 per door, and make no payments for a year. For details, visit LakeWashingtonWindows.com. Lake Washington Windows and Doors, a name you can trust.
The Lee Johnson culture to me is empowering all of your employees to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You know, there are certain things that it doesn't matter what level of employment you are in our organization. If it's not the right thing or it doesn't feel right, they have the ability to take care of the customer and make the decision without asking a manager, without asking an owner. The end result is they can speak to the customer with more confidence. They're definitely more confident in what they're trying to provide the customer, what the customer is trying to accomplish, and just giving them a better experience.
His name is Justin Meek. He's the leader and caretaker of more than 300 full-time employees for the Lee Johnson Auto family. It's the united understanding among Lee Johnson employees that customers are the purpose of our day. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Our first selectee was a 10-time Major League All-Star, a 10-time Gold Glove Award winner, and a 2-time American League batting champion, becoming the 30th member of the 3,000 hit club over 19 seasons with the Seattle Mariners, New York Yankees, and Florida Marlins. Today, Ichiro Suzuki becomes a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Funny to hear the Florida Marlins thrown on at the end of that one, but unbelievable moment for Ichiro yesterday as he enters the Hall of Fame, one vote short of unanimity. Just ridiculous that somebody didn't vote for him. He spoke to not just what he accomplished here, but some of the pressure that he felt, especially in those early seasons.
As the first Japanese position player coming over, I had just finished 7 years of being the leading hitter in that league, coming over. I felt like there was going to be judgment on Japanese baseball. And so there was definitely that pressure, and that I knew that how I performed was going to be really looked at as, this is Japanese baseball.
Well, Ichiro, of course, speaking yesterday through a translator, he did receive all sorts of congratulatory messages, including one from his buddy Junior.
Congratulations, Ichiro. Truly deserved. I am happy. I can't tell you, my wife is running around when she found out that you got the call. It is an honor. I can't wait to see you. Just one thing, you're bringing the sake, because that's what the rookies have to do. You're now a rookie for the first time in 25 years. So I expect a nice bottle of sake for both of us.
George, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ichiro calling him George, as he always did. Mariners do go a step further in their celebration as well, because not only will he enter the Hall of Fame, but according to Kevin Martinez, he'll have another big honor in store.
The Mariners are retiring your number 51 jersey. After your induction in Cooperstown this summer, we'll hold a ceremony here at T-Mobile Park on August 9th and officially retire your number 51 next to Hall of Famers Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and Jackie Robinson.
Pretty darn cool. That's a heck of a group to be together with, hanging out in center field. And the Hall of Fame class will be great. CC Sabathia gets in on his first attempt. Billy Wagner, who made it on his 10th and final. Carlos Beltran falls just short. Probably wouldn't have been on my voting list, but not going to be upset if and when he gets in next year. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Felix did well. Very respectable, 20.6%. Only a couple of guys who were non-steroid candidates finished higher. That would be Beltran, Andrew Jones, and Chase Utley.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
All right, looks like there could be some competition for the Seahawks as they look to hire an offensive coordinator. Two of the three names that we know have had second interviews popped up elsewhere within the last day or so. Hank Fraley, of course, the Detroit Lions offensive line coach. We know he could have a suitor in Detroit now that Ben Johnson has left for Chicago. And by all accounts, he is a candidate in Chicago that Ben Johnson would like to have him there. So, as I said yesterday, if you want him, it felt like yesterday really would have been the time to not let him leave and just hire him. The fact that he's not been hired yet is going to make me assume that when this is all said and done, he'll go to Chicago. We'll find out. If you're betting on Clint Kubiak, well, he could be of interest to the Jets. Sounds like he would be a favorite of Aaron Glenn's if and when he gets hired in New York today. Meanwhile, old friend Brian Schottenheimer getting a head coaching interview in Dallas. Good for him. Josh McDaniels going to try the third time, see if it's the charm in New England as the offensive coordinator there one more time. Kevin O'Connell gets a huge extension to stay in Minnesota. So all those silly trade rumors you heard a couple of weeks ago will now essentially go away.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Let's see, Kraken off today. They'll be home tomorrow against Washington. I will say something does seem to have clicked with them over the last few games. I know we've seen fits and starts before, so it's not like I'm expecting now they've turned the corner and they're going to be great. We've seen it. I also believe that when you play with a little bit more physicality, good things tend to happen, especially in that sport. And I think you've seen that with John Hayden, a couple other guys in the lineup over the last few games. I just like Hayden. I don't think he's a star. Like, it's not like having a fourth-line winger is going to be the difference between going to the Stanley Cup and finishing 8th to worst in the league. But I think when you put guys like that on the ice, it does affect the way the game is being played. And I'm a fan of it. I liked it. And I think the fact that he's been out there the last few days has absolutely factored into the Kraken playing a little bit better hockey. That's everything you need to know. Quarter past every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. As I said, Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated going to be in for a couple of hours starting at 8 o'clock. He'll join me for the rest of the show, which will be great. Daniel Jeremiah coming up here in a little bit as well. It is interesting, right? You talk about how the Seahawks got a much better head start on their coaching hiring this time around than last year. And you bring in 3 guys for second interviews all, within the last couple days, last week. Fine. A lot of thought. Brock said it yesterday that hopefully they'll get something done by this weekend. Okay, good. But as you've been trying to figure it out, eventually those other coaching vacancies get filled, right? So Ben Johnson gets hired in Chicago. Well, that may very well take Hank Fraley off the board if he wants to stay with a very familiar name and face and person he's been with for the last few years in Ben Johnson. So, and if Ben Johnson loves him and says, nope, you're my guy, maybe that opportunity walks away from you in Seattle. If your guy is Clint Kubiak and you had him in for a visit last week and you haven't signed him up yet, and now Aaron Glenn is going to get the job probably today, it looks like, in New York. Does he say, no, Clint Kubiak's my guy? And I don't know where Clint prefers to go or who he knows better or what situation he prefers. Personally, I would rather be of this organization than the Jets organization. But if he's a guy who's always wanted to be in New York, seems unlikely, but I just don't know enough about him. Anyway, you just got a little more competition the longer you go into this thing. So we'll talk to Daniel Jeremiah about that coming up at 8:30, about an hour from now. Brady Henderson will join me for Blue 88 in 20 minutes. I guess I could ask Brady about that as well. We'll do it coming up soon on Brock and Salk. Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Jaden Daniels, how do you find a rookie quarterback that's that good when you don't have the number 2 pick? That's where the conversation turned. If you don't have a number 2 overall pick, well, then what do you do? And I have some names that have been thrown out, and I'm going to throw them your way. Joe Milton.
I think you take chances on guys like that.
Yeah.
Because that's your only option. You talk to the Patriots and see what's going on there. You go across the league and see what backups are available and find a guy that you think could run your offense if he needed to do that.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here. We are now more than 3 weeks into January. So if you started off trying to lose a little weight or whatever the case may be, and by now you've realized it just wasn't working the way you wanted it to, time to get some help. Just straight up, you need help. It's really hard to do everything by yourself. Get that help from Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Worked for me. Went to those guys. All it takes is a 15-minute phone call to just see if you're interested, see if the program's right for you. The phone call is free. And once you do, you are going to get some things to really aid you on your journey. A couple things in particular. One, you're going to get recipes. I needed them. I needed to know what to cook, when to cook it, how much to eat, and their program will give you all of those details. By the way, it's real food that you buy at the grocery store, nothing fake. You're not buying any food from them. Second of all, I needed accountability. I needed somebody to say, no, Mike, you need to lose this on this day and this on this day and stay true to it. Otherwise, left to my own devices, I tend to cheat, and that's not a great plan for losing weight. Well, they provided both of those things for me and the support and everything else you need to lose that weight. Call them. It's just a 15-minute call. Do it for yourself right now. Call Eastside Weight Loss Clinic at 425-588-0080 or go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with autopay and any voice line. Plus, price lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without autopay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
The Southern California Fire Disaster Relief Fund is now taking donations to help the victims of the devastating fires. You can help by donating at your local Safeway checkout today.
Swedish Cyberknife has been serving the Pacific Northwest with innovative and compassionate care since 2006. The Cyberknife system, with advanced tracking technology and robotic design, keeps the radiation on target even with tumor or patient movement. Being able to precisely and accurately deliver radiation makes a difference in terms of controlling cancer and reducing the risk of side effects. And the treatment is completed in only 5 sessions, lasting less than an hour. But the technology is only half the story. The skilled and dedicated team of providers and caregivers match the technology by providing unparalleled, personalized treatment plans and compassionate care. They are committed to patient-focused care, partnering with the patient and their families. The results speak for themselves. Patient surveys consistently give Swedish Cyberknife the highest of rankings. When diagnosed with prostate cancer, consider treatment with Swedish Cyberknife. Swedish.org/cyberknife prostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife.
If it's a new year and a new you, it begins with a new car. At Toyota of Kirkland, they're ready for your resolutions. Come see the beautiful showroom and wonderful team at Toyota of Kirkland to kick off 2025. Check out the wide selection of Tundras, Tacomas, and RAV4s. Get electrified in your ride with Toyota of Kirkland's inventory of Prius and the BZ4X. The best way to start the new year is by visiting Toyota of Kirkland in person or online at toyotaofkirkland.com.
Safety comes first. When money is tight, Buc-ee's has you covered with available financing. For oil changes, wiper blades, brakes, tire rotation, tune-ups, and factory maintenance, it's Buc-ee's Complete Auto. No appointment necessary and financing's available. Check Buc-ee's.com for the location near you.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is the place to go. Breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley, great live entertainment, and the best happy hour menus starting at 4. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, only 30 minutes from downtown.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, as I said, Brady will join me for Blue 88 here in about 15 minutes. Brock and Salk Seattle Sports on 710 seattlesports.com. Greg Bishop's coming by. DJ will be here. Daniel Jeremiah, of course, at 8:30. I do want to remind everyone that Washington's biggest night out for sports is almost here. That would be the 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Awards. Big star-studded event bringing together all the athletes and icons behind our teams, men's, women's, the whole deal. You can vote now through January January 29th. So you just got a week left. Go to our events page at seattlesports.com/events and make your voice heard. The winners will be announced at that event presented by Microsoft on February 27th. Don't miss out. Vote now and be a big part of that celebration. I think you could probably also do that through our app, the Seattle Sports app, while you're there. If you haven't downloaded that already, again, I don't really know what to say to you. Like, download the app. That's just pretty obvious. But leave us a little voice message there for Here's the Thing. I think we're doing it tomorrow. No Maura. She usually puts all that together. So Lyle's in Maura's chair this week. I think we're planning to do Here's the Thing, right? I know you and TJ are going to be in tomorrow, so people can take marine layer shots, I suppose. It's all up to the people out there.
They're going to have to send some good messages.
I would think so. And I trust the people to do that. They've been good every week. No reason that this week would be a fall off for anybody. So be creative, be interesting, leave us a message on anything you want. You can do that by using the Seattle Sports app, which by now you should have downloaded. Spent a lot of time over the last few weeks. And it's going to continue, I think, here for a while, although I will admit I'm starting to look at one thing a little bit differently, and I'll try to explain. Trying to figure out what the future is of the quarterback position in Seattle. And you heard Brian Baldinger there a few minutes ago, pretty high on Geno. Like, yeah, Geno's pretty good. And then a breath later say, but you got to be looking towards the future. Yeah, you probably got to be drafting somebody because, again, in the entirety of the time that this regime has been here, John Schneider and before that Pete Carroll with, Mike McDonald before that Pete Carroll, the only quarterbacks they've drafted are Russell Wilson and Alex Magoo. End of conversation. That's it. No one else. You gotta be bringing in options and opportunities to find yourself the next guy. Well, I've spent some time talking about, what you want to do with either DK Metcalf or Geno Smith. And I do think that those are really important conversations. And I think it's hard to bring back both guys next year at the money that they're both going to command, et cetera. And so I do think a choice is probably coming. What did we see yesterday? Jeremy Fowler had a little note saying that you may end up seeing a DK trade with the Chargers. That might be a good fit, that they need somebody like him after kind of jettisoning all of their big-name wide receivers a year ago and bringing in Ladd McConkey and needing a little something more to pair with their guy, Justin Herbert. Yeah, I mean, that might be a fit. I don't know how much they're going to be willing to give up to get him, but that's an interesting conversation, certainly. So I do think there's going to be a conversation with those two players. I have definitely been swayed by a few of the notes and comments from our guests and others recently saying that there are ways to land that quarterback of the future without necessarily picking in the top 10. We asked Dan Orlovsky about it last week. Like, okay, where do you get that guy?
You have to draft early. And what I mean early is by the timing of it rather than the slotting of it. You're going to have that moment that the Green Bay Packers had a couple years ago, where the Buffalo Bills had years ago, where the Kansas City Chiefs had years ago, where you sit there and go, no, we got a good football team. Our quarterback's a good player. We don't need to draft a quarterback. And you go, no, we do. We're going to draft a quarterback now, because we have evaluated them and we really like this guy. And so we're going to go up and get him. And maybe he doesn't play for us for a year or two, but we think that he's the next 10 years. And, those are uncomfortable moments and they're difficult conversations, and you rub people the wrong way, especially alpha personalities. But that's what's best for the future of the organization. And so, yeah, they are one of those teams that is probably going to start that timeline of, hey, we really like this player. We're picking at 22. We probably have to go up to 12 to get him, type of thing. Like, that's going to be part of their conversations probably over the next 24 months.
Well, if you're going to do that, you're going to need some extra picks, because obviously you do have, more needs other than just quarterback, right? So if you trade DK, yeah, you're going to then have a need at wide receiver. You're going to pay less for it, but you're going to have a need at wide receiver. So one of those picks probably going to have to go for a wideout at some point. Obviously, we know the problems they have in the middle of their offensive line, so that needs to get dealt with probably in the draft and in free agency. Can you package an extra pick that you get along with, your 18th pick in order to get into the top 10, in order into 12, somewhere in that range in order to get a quarterback? Maybe, but I don't know if this is the year you're going to do that. It's just the problem is we keep saying that year after year after year. When is the year? Next year? Okay, I'm fine with that. I can wait one more year. If you tell me that, you're hunting next year to go find that quarterback for sure and that's your absolute, and if that's the case, then you probably want to be trading into next year's draft now. You probably want to be trading for first and second round picks for next year now, before this year's draft, in order to get as much draft capital in that draft class if that's truly the direction you think you're going. Otherwise, you got to look at one of the mid-round quarterbacks now. Jackson Dart is probably the most obvious name there, but he's not the only one. Here's more from Orlovsky.
I think there's three, Brock. I'm not going to say Shador and Cam Ward because we know that they're going to be in those conversations for top 10s, but I am intrigued by Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is a very talented thrower of the football, and I think proved to be very clutch this year for Texas. So you're intrigued by him. Why doesn't the production match the talent all the time is a question I have. I'm a little bit bummed about Dylan Gabriel, if I'm being candid. I thought he was a guy that, could you go on a run in the college football playoff and kind of vault yourself in? Because I think he's such a talented thrower and he plays really fast. But, the disappointing game soured me maybe just a little bit. Milroe in Alabama, I'm not telling anybody he's a finished product, but, the physical talent, the character and work ethic, the improvement we have seen as a passer, I'm very intrigued by it. Yeah, there's four. Jackson Dart is another guy that played a ton of college football, very physically talented, throws the ball downfield. So those are three or four guys that I at least, stay round two.
Okay, good. I mean, it's good to hear that there are names. They all have, holes, right? Milroe, questions about processing, but obviously he's got the arm, obviously got the speed and athleticism. I'm interested in knowing more. Whether or not that's the future of the position, it's a little harder to say. Jackson Dart, I'm interested in knowing more. Has that feel of a, kind of long-term NFL backup, comes in and out of the starting lineup right over the course of a 10-year career. But I want to know a little bit more, for sure. Same with Will Howard, who we saw win the national title the other night. The one thing, though, and it's going to be hard for me, and Will Howard is going to be, a challenge for me. It's really hard for me to imagine moving forward in the NFL without a quarterback who can run. They don't have to be Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, but it's really hard for me to imagine going all in on any quarterback that doesn't bring the ability to run as part of his game. I'm just enamored with quarterbacks who can change the game in multiple ways, and I have been now for the better part of a decade. You just have to have it. The game moves so quickly, and when you get down into the red zone, we've seen over and over again, the running quarterbacks have a gigantic advantage. What do we say? The top 8 teams in red zone touchdown percentage, 7 of them had quarterbacks that could really run, and the other was a bit of an anomaly because the Lions were just so good at running the ball themselves anyway that they ended up being really good at it. But all the rest, it was Lamar and Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. It was all the guys that can really run. We asked Daniel Jeremiah why that would be.
Here's the way I would explain that too, is that if you go play pickup basketball and there's only 9 guys in the gym and you play 4-on-5 full court, the team with 4 guys, you're still going to be able to get up and down and score because there's speed, there's space, and there's going to be opportunities for you. Now, you take those same 9 guys and we're going to bury them down in a half-court game of basketball. You're playing 4-on-5. It becomes very hard. And when you have an athletic quarterback who can move, all of a sudden now you're playing 5-on-5, and that changes the math down there.
I love the way he looks at that, and I think he's absolutely right. You got to have a quarterback that can move. You got to have someone that can change the way defenses account for everything in the running game. We know Mike McDonald wants to run. We know that. We know that's important. Do I think he has the running backs on this roster to do it? Yes. It might not be what they have in Detroit or what they have in Philadelphia, but I got no issues with the running backs on this team, especially, I think, as you start to make it a little bit more of an open competition. Yeah, I think Charbonnet's good enough with the right offensive line. So is Kenny McIntosh. So is Ken Walker. You obviously need to make some changes with your offensive line, but I don't think it's an accident that running quarterbacks tend to pair well with good running backs and good running teams. Jalen Hurts, you don't think that helps? You don't think it helps Saquon to have Jalen? Now, look, Saquon's a tremendous player, and that offensive line's unbelievable. But the threat of the quarterback pulling it and running 70 yards to pay dirt like he did on Sunday is a threat. It obviously helps Derrick Henry at his age, et cetera, to not only have a great offensive line, a good creative running game, but also to have a running quarterback who can go the other direction and freeze that end. It helped Marshawn here for years with Russell Wilson. You know this. I am very enamored in having a running quarterback, and then you can start to figure out what kind of a scheme you're going to run. And there's some different options and opportunities there. We asked DJ again. We'll talk to him here in about a little less than an hour, 45 minutes, on, what do you want to do? You want to do gap scheme? You want to do zone scheme?
Shanahan, McVay, they've adopted a lot of gap scheme runs, and because of that, they've gotten a lot bigger. I think that's the reason why you would say they were maybe be viewed as not as physical, because if you're going to be a pure zone team, that's going to require a lot more athleticism up front. It's just kind of bulls on parade. Everybody's got to be able to really move laterally, whereas gap scheme, you can play with a 330-pound guard. And I think what McVay figured out as they revamped their offensive line in Los Angeles was, okay, they were successful in their run game. They were running it well with their zone runs, but they're also getting their teeth kicked in the pocket, because those lighter interior guys that could really help you on some of those zone runs, they can't anchor down and form a firm pocket. So he was like, okay, we're going to get bigger. We're going to get bigger interior guys. We're going to run some more gap scheme runs. And then what that's going to do is going to set up more of an interior wall in pass protection, which more and more teams are building their pass protection inside out instead of the way we always did it outside in.
All right, so we'll see what that looks like, and they're going to have to make that choice, whether it's going with a Kubiak, going with a Hank Fraley. Again, both of those may be more difficult now. It does look like Aaron Glenn is going to take the job with the Jets. Josina Anderson just had a report on that, and he could be interested in both those guys. We've heard reports that he's interested in Kubiak, and obviously he's worked with Fraley, so that might be 3 spots in addition to Seattle where Fraley would be an option to be an offensive coordinator. 509 says all 4 quarterbacks left can run. Dang it, I agree with Salk. I know it's the worst, isn't it? There's nothing worse. 425 says Salk is enamored with saying the word enamored. I might be. Who could blame me? And then 360, Justin Fields is a running quarterback. Could you see yourself going forward with him? Be hard. First of all, I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's going to stay in Pittsburgh. But if Justin Fields is available and not for that much money, would I bring him in to compete this year? Yes, I would. I would love to see what he's like in a different situation. Am I convinced that he's the guy? No. But would I rather have him around than Sam Howell? Yes, 100%. I said the same thing last year. I'd rather have a guy that can run around. I think it's important. So, running quarterback, guy who changes the box count when you get into the red zone, important. Really important. So, yeah, why is Josh Allen left playing? That's a big reason. He scored 2 touchdowns in the red zone this past week. Patrick Mahomes, he can run around. He makes plays with his legs. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, that might be his best feature, right? I mean, like we're seeing, and Jaden Daniels does everything, but his speed is a big part of it. Those are the 4 quarterbacks left. It's definitely something I'm interested in.
This is Brock and Salk's Blue 88.
Blue 88! Blue 88!
We take you to the field as Brock Ewart breaks down 3 football questions as only he can.
Now here's your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
All right, Brady Henderson, our friend from ESPN.com, is here today in place of Brock Heward for Blue 88. Good morning, Brady.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Well, we're going to do an all-offensive coordinator version of Blue 88. Let's start with Hank Fraley. Question number 1. What do you make of Hank Fraley, and is he even really going to be an option here with potential openings for him in 3 other cities?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking about one being, with Ben Johnson in Chicago, I think if all else was equal, I would imagine that unless he really loves Ben Johnson, that he would take another coordinator job that would allow him to call plays, because he obviously wouldn't do that in Chicago with Ben Johnson being the head coach and play caller. I think that the interest in Fraley, if it is legitimate, and I would imagine so, it's because you're bringing him in for a second interview. You did so already. It's, what do you know about offensive linemen, Mike Salk? You know that they love to run the ball. So it's not like you have a resume, a play-calling resume to look at and say, yeah, he ran the ball X percentage of times. But if there's one position that you can trust is going to run the ball consistently, it's an offensive lineman. And, another thing to keep in mind here is, I don't know that this is the case specifically with some of these candidates, but sometimes when coaches interview candidates, they're ostensibly interviewing them for the job, whatever it is, offensive coordinator or head coach. I think sometimes what happens is teams interview these guys just to sort of get them in the door, and they ultimately want to hire them for another position. So would it shock me if maybe part of the Seahawks' motivation with Hank Fraley is potentially trying to lure him away to be an offensive line coach, and maybe you would give him some elevated title, assistant head coach, something like that? That would not shock me, just because, it is interesting. He is an interesting candidate in the sense that, not only is there no play calling experience, he's been a position coach, his entire life. Now he would run the ball, and he does come from a very run centric offense. So he would check a couple boxes there. But I still, if I had to guess, I would still think that the guy is Kubiak, and we'll talk about Kubiak in either question number 2 or number 3, depending on which way you want to go with it.
Let's do question number 2. Hey, what do you think about Clint Kubiak, Brady? Do you think he is the most logical candidate and the front runner still?
I thought you'd never ask. He's been the guy that, to me, I have sort of sensed has been the leading candidate all along, and that's sort of a little bit of my sense, a little bit of what I've heard as well. He would be kind of the safest pick of the 3 guys that are getting second interviews or have gotten second interviews. He'd be the safest pick. He's got the bloodlines, obviously. He's got the play calling experience. 1 year in Minnesota, 1 year in New Orleans, also a half season of play calling experience in Denver after Nathaniel Hackett gave up those duties. I think the interesting thing about Kubiak is the experience and the bloodlines and the Shanahan connection. That's all a plus. The interesting thing about his resume is in all 3 of those stops, not a very high volume run percentage. And obviously that's the first thing that a lot of people are going to look at. I'm sure that's the first thing that Mike Macdonald is going to look at, considering how it went with Ryan Grubb. And a big reason, as we all know, that they're looking for a new offensive coordinator is because Ryan Grubb did not run the ball as much as Mike Macdonald wanted. And that really, he's been sort of middle of the pack, both in New Orleans and in Minnesota. Now, suppose that when he took over play calling duties for Nathaniel Hackett, Nathaniel Hackett was still on board for much of that. So maybe Hackett was still sort of dictating that they throw the ball. The last couple games after Hackett got fired, they did run the ball a little bit more. But that is the interesting thing, is that if you're going from one coordinator who didn't run the ball enough, it is surprising that the guy that they're really looking at doesn't have a huge history of running the ball a lot either.
Maybe he called running plays every time in Denver, and the quarterback who was concerned about his legacy changed them to passing plays.
That could be. Or maybe Nathaniel Hackett was still kowtowing to Russell Wilson and was still dictating that they throw the ball a lot. Who
Good
knows?
move. Real smart. Question number 3. Third candidate that we know of that has come in for an in-person second interview is Gary Udinski, the most interesting man in the world, 28 years old. Is this a real candidate? Or is this, Brady, as you said, with Fraley, someone that you're looking to get into a different position here?
Yeah, Grant Udinski. Yeah, he is a really interesting guy. And there's no doubt that he appears to be a rising star in the NFL. And, when you see assistant coaches with, passing game coordinator, or in this case, assistant offensive coordinator, I've never even heard of somebody having an assistant offensive coordinator title. But when you see an assistant coach with some sort of weird, fluffy title like that, what does that mean, Mike Salk? Usually that means that somebody along the way tried to hire that guy, and the staff retained him by giving him a raise and a fancy new title. So he's, at some point along the way, somebody else, I would imagine, tried to hire him. He was also linked to the Patriots job before they hired Josh McDaniels. I just have a really hard time imagining Mike Macdonald taking such a big swing on such a young, inexperienced guy. He's 28 years old. He does have the assistant offensive coordinator title, but we all know Kevin O'Connell is the offensive coordinator there. This would be entrusting the entire offensive operation to a 28-year-old guy who has never been a head position coach, let alone a play caller. I think after taking a swing on Ryan Grubb and that not working out, just can't imagine that Mike Macdonald would want to take that big of a swing again. But again, maybe this is a case where, you're interviewing him ostensibly for the head coaching job, but maybe you more so want to get him in the building and maybe you could lure him away with, some sort of, passing game coordinator title like that. And maybe the thought there is you're trying to pair him with a more experienced offensive coordinator.
All right, that is today's Blue 88 with ESPN reporter Brady Henderson. You referred to Kubiak as the safest pick, and maybe you sort of answered some of this just now with the Udinski answer, but why is that so important right now?
Well, I just don't think they want to screw it up again. I mean, and look, again, part of the issue last year with Grubb, it was largely a function of timing. And, they hired McDonald late January. So by the time they started looking for offensive coordinators, it's early February. And I just don't think they had a whole lot of options at that point. So, maybe there was some, sort of rush to try to get the staff assembled, to get the coordinator hired, and then you start to get the staff assembled. So I think that's probably part of the reason why they're taking their time. And, McDonald, as I'm sure you know, is a very meticulous decision maker in the first place. And I think he's taken his time, especially now, just knowing that you really want to make sure the guy is the right fit, not just philosophically, but personality-wise, because I do think that was part of the issue with Grubb as well. So, I mean, I think safe meaning you know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? You know a guy who's done it. You can, just the personality and the philosophy. And so I think that Kubiak seems like he would be the safest pick in terms of the surest thing. You know what you'd be getting into, and you know that he wouldn't be he wouldn't be in over his head because he's been there and done that.
How did you feel getting home Friday night knowing you just had 5 birdies in a round and you played with a guy that beat you by 11 strokes? Or was it 13 strokes? Excuse me.
Well, he shot 8 under. I mean, that was the best. That was the best round of golf I've ever witnessed. I was telling my girlfriend Maddie about it afterwards, and she's like, yeah. She was like trying to pretend that it was interesting, and I was like, no, Maddie, you don't understand. This guy could not miss. He was knocking everything like within 5 feet of the cup, and then when he had the long putts, he was draining all of them. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, and don't let's not make anyone believe that I was that person, because I certainly was not. It was home course pro Shane Pranty, who shot a 64 by hitting 17 greens in regulation. It was one of the more remarkable things I've witnessed in person. Brady, good stuff. Talk to you soon. See you, buddy.
See you, man. Thank you.
All right, there goes Brady. Greg Bishop, our friend from Sports Illustrated, is in next, and he'll hang out for the next couple hours chatting and telling stories. Stick around. This is always fun. It's next on Brock and Salk.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
We saw some of these players highlighted. They were in the playoffs. You saw Jared Verse, who we've talked about. Did you draft the right guy? Byron Murphy was the first-round pick of your Seattle Seahawks, and then picked 19th overall. 3 spots later was Jared Verse by the Rams.
Byron Murphy was the best player left at number 16, and that's why they picked him.
You have to remember who the Seahawks were going into this draft. They were a team, a defense in particular, that was getting the ball run down their throat.
Read up on the latest news and opinions at seattlesports.com.
This might be the most surprising statistic I've shared in decades of doing local news. More than 75% of commuters will be involved in a car accident at some point. JP Pendergast of Pendergast Law with more.
What makes it more surprising? The average person will be involved in 3 to 4 collisions in their lifetime.
With accidents unbelievably prevalent, what are some safety tips if it happens to you?
Safety first. Secondary collisions are not uncommon while awaiting help. Turn on those hazards and remain in a safe place. If a bystander witnessed the accident, capture their information and encourage them to remain at the scene. Seek medical attention immediately if needed, as delaying can be a costly mistake. Lastly, remember that statements made to police and insurance adjusters can affect your case.
Collisions are more common than we'd like to think. If you find yourself in one, follow these full tips and then call my friends at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one's injured in a car accident, Call Pendergast Law. We can help.
PendergastLaw.com.
I was having trouble getting up and down my stairs at home. And I thought, well, this isn't going to work because how am I going to go to Utah and do some hiking?
When Judy came to Sound Pain Solutions, her knee pain was preventing her from enjoying an active lifestyle. She was diagnosed with osteoarthritis. She tried numerous treatments and was told she should have surgery. I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We were able to get Judy back to hiking with our comprehensive, non-surgical, and drug-free treatment.
I think that the Trigenics that they do along with the adjustment, the pressure wave, and the PRP are the best options for joint pain. And I would really recommend it to anybody who is suffering from joint pain and would like to avoid surgery.
Schedule a free consultation to learn if you qualify for our safe, drug-free, non-surgical treatment by calling Sound Pain Solutions or visiting soundpainsolutions.com.
Storms can be overwhelming, but you're not alone. We're here 24/7 to secure your home and give you peace of mind. Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors here. From your roof to your siding, windows, and deck, we'll handle it with care and get your home back to better, quickly and safely. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today. We're here for you when it matters most. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
State Roofing, the best roof you'll ever need.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business at ooma.com/radio.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair? Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1.
Febreze.
So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for my friends at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, I said and hotel. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is just the place to go. Whether it's Vista Prime Steak and Seafood with their reimagined happy hour or Falls Buffet as well. The breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley and Mount Si. You can find all the details at SNOcasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Get in the freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Ewert is my hero.
Jay Buhner just punched me in the kidney.
We're going to see you on manager.
Doesn't really work that way, Sherm. This is a show that has my name on it.
It kind of does, though.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Ewert and Mike Salk.
Hello! Oh, this is always fun. We get a couple hours to sit and hang out with a real big-time reporter, Greg Bishop, Sports Illustrated, writes cover stories and fun pieces, going deep and learning a lot about athletes and people in the game. And I mean, I don't know anybody who does it quite like you do. Greg, good to have you in today, buddy. How are you?
Man, what an intro. I had checks in the mail, Mike.
Darn right. Usually we pay people for coming in, but not in this case. Greg actually pays us to say nice things for him. It's a whole thing we've got going on. I got a ton of stuff for you over the course of the next few hours. We will talk to Daniel Jeremiah together in a half hour, and obviously I just want like some good storytelling time, so I got like a half hour blocked out at 9:30 to just have you tell stories. But we started a conversation last week, and the Gras got involved in it as one of the deans of the Seattle sports scene, about stars. And I think it comes up again today as Ichiro goes into the Hall of Fame yesterday. Ichiro was a star in his own weird, unique way, one of the biggest stars ever in Seattle. When you think of Ichiro, what do you think?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, just because I'm a nerdy journalist, is the times I interviewed him. Like, it always felt like you were talking to Buddha or, a grand philosopher. And I remember trying to get time with him was always difficult.
Very hard.
He always had the same interpreter, and he typically understood what you were saying to him, but he would answer and then go through the interpreter. And I always just remember every time thinking, I mean, to your point, like, this is a big-time guy who's really good at what he does, and this is kind of a cool opportunity. Those moments kind of stand out.
You think they should keep the Hall of Fame ballots open for everybody to see, transparent? The fact that one person didn't vote for him and we don't know who it is does seem sort of silly.
Absolutely, and I would love to do that just to make fun of Jeff Passan. So,
just to make fun of his ballot?
Yeah.
He puts his out there, doesn't he? He doesn't keep his hidden.
He might. I try to ignore his tweets, to be honest with you.
That's probably a smart move.
I'm staying at his house on Friday, even, by the way. But
for sure. People should know they are college roommates and very, very good friends. Anyway, it got me thinking about stars, that and where we're at with the Seahawks, et cetera. How many stars do you think right now today exist in the Seattle sports scene? How many stars playing today exist in the Seattle sports scene?
Let's talk parameters real quick. So you're talking.
How do you define it?
Well, to me, when we say star, it's not just somebody who's like a really good at playing their position.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are plenty of Seahawks that are really amazing players. I'm not sure that I would say any of them outside of maybe DK Metcalf is a legitimate star. You want to know if I'm, in central Iowa, do they know who they are? Do they know what they do? Do they have some level of respect or appreciation for it?
I often ask, does my wife know who that is?
Yeah, that's a good barometer.
And not all wives. A lot of wives and women are incredibly invested in sports. Mine is not. So I don't say that as a male-female thing, just to clarify. Just my wife doesn't really care very much, despite the fact that I work in sports. She the other day wondered why I wasn't going to the VMAC on Monday and was shocked to find out that the NFL had started its playoffs a week earlier. So, she's just not invested. She knows who DK is.
Yeah, similar. I guess my barometer will be mom. She doesn't always hit me on the stories I write, but sometimes she'll be like, "Oh, you wrote about that TikTok thing again," or whatever, and that's kind of the general reaction. So if we're using that lens, I would say she knows who Julio Rodriguez is.
Yep.
She knows who DK Metcalf is. Probably knows Geno Smith. And then I'm coming up blank. Who am I missing?
No, I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of what I determined going through it. I mean, you might be able to make a half-hearted argument for Cal Raleigh. I don't know whether, I think he probably has a little bit more local stardom than he does national, but Cal doesn't feel like a traditional star. He feels more like gritty type of catcher who's the captain of the team behind the scenes and everybody loves him. It's more of a cult hero.
Jay Buhner.
Right. Yeah, he's the Jay Buhner more of this team than he is the Ken Griffey Jr. Felix has, Julio obviously has all the star qualities. Everyone knows who he is. He hasn't really lived up to it necessarily the last couple of years on the field, but that's a star. He's got all of the qualities of a star. And I agree with you. Right now, it's DK Metcalf. You've lost Pete Carroll, who was a star, right? You've lost Sue Bird, who was a star. Matty Beniers and anyone else from the Kraken, none of them have really grown into actual stardom, either on the ice or off of it. You're kind of looking at a town that at most has one or two stars right now.
Yeah, and I think the context is interesting to me there. Like, I remember when I was at the New York Times in 2008, coming back to write about the most like barren Seattle sports landscape ever.
Oh, yes.
That was
you mean the year we
Huskies.
decided to launch a sports station?
Yeah, really?
Well, I mean, go back. I'm sure you know this since you did the piece. 2008.
Yeah.
You had the Mariners become the first team in history to spend $100 million to lose 100 games. The Seahawks went, was it 5-11 or 4-12, something like that, and Mike Holmgren left.
Yeah.
Huskies went 0-12.
Yeah.
The Cougs went 2-10 and beat the Huskies. The Sonics left. The economy crashed, and we said, let's start a sports station in town.
I love that. So my favorite part of doing this story in 08 is I interviewed Sir Mix-a-Lot. And beyond the debate in my own head of like what do you call him? You know, is it, hey Mix? That sounded weird. Mr. Lot. I mean, he don't use the real name. Anyway, I said, what would you call this time in Seattle sports if you were making a song about it? Because big time Seattle sports fan he is. And he said Purgatory.
Yeah.
So I think that's important context in relation to this is not a place where titles are won like on a whim and always grabbed and we just sit around looking at all this gleaming hardware from the local sports team. But Seattle has consistently had superstars.
For sure.
Tons and like really high level. And it's interesting. I hadn't thought of this whole notion, until today. And the Seattle athletes that people most often ask me about now, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Ken Griffey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And that says a lot about what we're talking about.
Well, and then I'm sure in a couple years that will include Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch and, the rest of that group that really was star-laden, all of those teams. And Pete's got to be on that list as well. He's not an athlete, but Pete was a star in his own right while he was here. Everything Pete did was star-like in the way he carried himself. We were just saying this morning of the 4 top percentage vote getters for the Baseball Hall of Fame, 2 of them are Yankees, Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera, and obviously 2 of them are Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr. and now Ichiro. The 2 premier franchises in baseball history, one in the Northwest, one in the Northeast, one is the Yankees, one is the Mariners. I think Yankees have a few more titles, but other than that, wouldn't we all agree they are the 2 preeminent franchise? Oh, no, maybe not. It's crazy, but you're right. You've always had stars.
Yeah, and I grew up in Tacoma, and I'm like mid '90s. That's like right in the wheelhouse of childhood, and there was just so many people to follow here, And the sports memories I have as a fan, because they're fairly distant, are like Griffey sliding into home or being with my dad at Game 6 of the World Series when they lost to the Indians. I mean, the ALCS.
Yeah.
And I just think it's interesting because even recently there's been plenty of athletes to watch here. Michael Penix Jr. comes to mind. But like breaking through in a way where, we're hitting the parameters I'd sort of informally use to make that judgment.
Well, certainly you'd say Marshawn was, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Marshawn is a national, he's in movies now. I mean, he's a national star.
He's about to do a documentary. I just did the deck for Skydance. Yeah, he's going to be involved in it.
Of course he is.
And he's even going to interview people that he had just relationships with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What if they all say they're just on the documentary so that they won't get fined?
Well, I hope somebody goes there.
I would assume someone will. It's too bad Clayton's not around to do it because John would have been the perfect person.
Oh, yeah.
We got a couple more hours with Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back with everything you need to know. Daniel Jeremiah and a lot more talk to come on Brock and Salk.
Ichiro is headed to Cooperstown.
The unbelievable has happened.
Celebrating the career of Ichiro Suzuki.
I may joke around, but I really think it's great that we get a chance to play together.
I agree.
I'm here to tell you that Ichiro grew something out of Star Wars down there.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is. He's a new all-time hit king.
Join Seattle Sports in congratulating Ichiro Suzuki on a Hall of Fame career with your Seattle Mariners.
Hey, have you been with the same insurance agent carrier so long you just assume they're doing right? You know the danger in assuming, especially when you see these rates going through the roof. You don't even know what you have covered. Well, it costs you nothing to do what Molly and I did. Go take the First Mark Insurance Challenge and find out. We heard so many First Mark Challenge victories that saved people so much money. We decided to take the challenge as well, and boy, am I glad we did. It has saved us thousands on our premiums the last couple years. Here's how they do it. Here's how First Mark goes to work for you, like they did for us, my family, my mom, my friends. They fully analyze your current coverage, making sure you're not overpaying for the wrong coverage. Then, well, they go to the market. dozens of major carriers they have worked with for years to find you the best fit. That's it. There's no stress. There's no confusion on your end. Think of it this way. We talk so much football on this show. Firstmark's your teammate, and they spent the last 30 years breaking the huddle, helping thousands of families, including mine, successfully manage the world of insurance. So don't wait a morning longer. Take the Firstmark Challenge. It's totally free, and you might be that next Firstmark Challenge victory I get to talk to. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com, firstmarkinsurance.com. Firstmark, your teammate that goes to work for you.
Jaden Schwartz for Techline Roofing. For your best shot at a roof, trust Techline. With the strongest warranty in the business, Techline Roofing has you covered. Trust the team I trust. Trust Techline Roofing.
Are you tired of having your money locked up in an annuity for 5 to 7 years? A CD that is only paying 4 to 5%? Or how about that underperforming IRA that you've lost track of? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. Our Legacy Northwest Fund is a 9% fixed income fund that only requires a 2-year commitment. And we are now opening our flagship fund to new investors. Legacy's Northwest Fund has had excellent performance with 0 investor losses for 16 straight years. I challenge you to find a better fixed income opportunity in the marketplace today. Come join the over 1,000 local investors with over $200 million invested.
Legacy's Northwest Fund is now open to new investors and paying 9%. Invest smart, invest local, invest with Legacy Group Capital. Visit LegacyG.com. LegacyG.com. Legacy's Northwest Fund is available to accredited investors only and paying 9% APR. Terms and conditions at LegacyG.com.
Cracked windshields happen, and if your car has a forward-facing camera, it needs to be recalibrated. All-Star Auto Glass is the professional choice for windshield replacement, repair, and recalibration. Call All-Star Auto Glass today.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shanahans.
Swing and a bit for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training.
Bring on the sunshine with a trip to see your Seattle Mariners. Come to sunny and warm Peoria, Arizona for another great year of spring training baseball. There's no better time to wind up at the Peoria Sports Complex where you can see all your favorite Mariners up close. Spring training in Peoria has plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, and the best seats in baseball. It's family fun for all ages. Book your trip today. Support your Seattle Mariners in Arizona for another exciting spring training season. Get your tickets at PeoriaBaseball.com.
Do you leave your car running unoccupied to warm up or stay warm during the winter? Don't do it. Car thieves call those steamers. They're watching for you and they'll steal your car before you know it. Every winter, Washington sees an uptick in auto theft, and a major reason is steamers. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep you and your vehicle safe. Don't get caught with your car running. These tips are brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Lee Johnson Auto Family. This is King. This organization's a special one. They call it the Lee Johnson Auto Family, and it's not just a name, it's not just some cliche. They foster an environment for us to become a family, to work together, to really become close, and they show us in a lot of different ways that they do value us. Is it perfect? No, no place is. But I've been very thankful to be here in the almost 10 years and have every plan to stay here for a lot longer and just watch it continue to grow.
He's fun and professional, which explains why so many people visiting Lee Johnson Kia ask for him by name. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
One voter was, there we go. We won't know who the one voter was that did not vote for Ichiro, as that will remain anonymous. But he gets into the Hall of Fame yesterday with all but one vote.
Our first electee was a 10-time Major League All-Star, a 10-time Gold Glove Award winner, and a 2-time American League batting champion, becoming the 30th member of the 3,000 hit club over 19 seasons with the Seattle Mariners, New York Yankees, and Florida Marlins. Today, Ichiro Suzuki becomes a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
And the Ichiro story is so great because it's not just what he did on the field. It's his impact on the entire nation of Japan. It's his impact on the Mariner organization. And I think his impact on American baseball, where after he succeeded, it just opened the door for lots more players to come. Does Matsui make his way over afterwards? Does Ohtani? Maybe they do eventually. But I think it's impossible to ignore the effect of someone like Ichiro.
Absolutely. I think you can tell the history of baseball recently through a lot of Japanese players, whether it's the home run king and like the branching into America, then Ichiro, the master batsman. Then you got Ohtani, the biggest star right now in international game. And I just think there's a lot of history that should be respected.
Certainly, and Ichiro deserves every bit of it. Not only, though, will he be in the Hall of Fame, the number 51 not going to be worn in Seattle anymore.
The Mariners are retiring your number 51 jersey. After your induction in Cooperstown this summer, we'll hold a ceremony here at T-Mobile Park on August 9th and officially retire your number 51 next to Hall of Famers Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, that's the first big announcement made by new Mariner president Kevin Martinez, and pretty exciting. Ichiro will never see another 51. Weird enough that there's Randy Johnson and Ichiro who both wore it for this franchise, but appropriate that it'll never be worn again. Elsewhere in the Hall of Fame class, CC Sabathia gets in. Billy Wagner gets in on his 10th and final try. Not sure why he opted to wear such tight pants for the moment, but I'm a big Billy Wagner fan and psyched that he gets in. Carlos Beltran just short. Felix did well, respectable, 20.6%. Of the guys ahead of him, the only players who were non-steroid guys were Beltran, Andrew Jones, and Chase Utley. That's it. So next year, the only potential Hall of Famer coming onto the ballot is Cole Hamels. I think Felix is going to go up significantly. And ultimately, maybe we'll see Felix in the Hall of Fame.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
All right, looks like there could be competition for the Seahawks as they're looking to hire an offensive coordinator. Hank Fraley likely going to have suitors in Detroit, likely going to have a suitor in Chicago. In fact, we know he does. And now it looks like Aaron Glenn is going to be the next coach of the New York Jets. He could be interested in his Detroit buddy as well. He was in for an interview yesterday. He left without a job, as far as we know. I'm not sure what that means, but there sure seems to be some competition for Hank Fraley.
Yeah, and I think he's generally high regarded, wide body of work, and they have a lot of pieces on offense. I don't think anybody would dispute that. So finding the right guy to come in and maybe take the scheme a little more in the modern direction, I think is key.
You also got Clint Kubiak, and that name is going to be challenged also, as he is on apparently Aaron Glenn's list in New York as well. Meanwhile, old friend Brian Schottenheimer is going to get a head coaching interview in Dallas. I think that's today. Josh McDaniels, third time, maybe that'll be the charm for him in New England, as he will work with Mike Vrabel there. Kevin O'Connell gets a massive extension to stay in Minnesota, which means all those silly rumors from a couple of weeks ago were probably spread by his agent in order to try and get him exactly what he got yesterday, which was a massive extension. He's pretty good, though.
Yeah, see, I've known him since I was a young beat writer at the New York Times covering the New York Jets. He was their third stringer. And even then, and I've spent a lot of time around him at QB Collective, the coaches group, I think among the bright minds in that Shanahan tree, he's got to be up there with Kyle, Mike McDaniel, and him, I would say, are the three where I think innovation most. I think Sean is an amazing manager of people, and I think he's very smart schematically. But I think his strength is putting together a team like you saw them come together at the end of the season. Whereas I think the schematic genius of that Shanahan system comes primarily from Kyle and Mike McDaniel.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Kraken off today. They're home tomorrow against Washington. You know, again, the ups and downs of this team. It's really hard to get too excited when they have a couple of wins. Like, oh, they've turned the corner. Like, no, then they tend to lose 7 of 8 or something. So I'm not going to, make too much of it. But play an excellent game, just lose on a bad bounce against one of the best teams in the league in Winnipeg, come home, win 2 games in a row, and now you get a chance to beat Washington. I don't know what it is. Yes, I think that first line with Beniers and Kakko and Schwartz has been a big part of it. I'm also going to say you throw a little extra physicality in the fourth line with John Hayden, who I like and who, for whatever reason, they haven't played a lot of. I do think that physicality almost always helps a hockey team. And so, is your fourth line winger the reason you win or lose? No. Is adding more physicality to a hockey team relevant? Yes. I always think that it is.
100%. And this is a little bit divergent, but what I want is to feel like that season when they were in the playoffs a couple years ago.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I loved going down to the Angry Beaver and watching games, and you just felt this real hockey fever in the city. And then you realize there's been more of a tradition here than you thought, and then you start to get into it. I feel like I've lost that want to watch them.
I get it. That's everything you need to know. 1/4 every hour in the Brock and Salk Show. I totally understand. I watch every night because I'm a hockey fan, and when the hockey team's on, I just watch. It's just been part of my life since I was a kid. Just when the hockey game's on, you turn it on and you watch it, and you watch your team every night. But I get it. You've got to give especially new and or casual fans a reason for it, and they're doing a lot of the right things in the community, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times before. If you've got a young kid, 9 and under, and they're interested in maybe playing hockey, but you're worried about the barrier of entry of all the cost, the Kraken will buy your first set of gear if you do their Learn to Play Hockey program, which is amazing. I mean, that's a couple $100 worth of stuff. Helmet, skates, pads, stick, everything. They'll buy the first set if your kid is 9 and under. Try it. If your kid doesn't like it, no big deal. You haven't lost anything. If they love it, you're going to be on the hook for a while, but that's how you build hockey fans throughout this entire community. All right, that's Greg Bishop, who you hear with me, Sports Illustrated cover writer extraordinaire, and he'll be with us for the rest of the show. We're going to get a lot of stories in about an hour, and we together will talk with Daniel Jeremiah next on Brock and Salk.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Talking Ichiro Suzuki with the voice of the Mariners, Rick Riz.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball. If he put the ball in play, which he did a million times, Ichiro had a chance to be safe. Now, if he wanted to, as you know, he could hit the ball out of the ballpark. He could win the home run derby. But his game was to hit the ball the other way, put the ball on the ground, get to first base, steal second, and score runs. And he did that as well as anybody in the history of the game of baseball.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
All right, you want to talk stats? Well, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the state of Washington ranks number 4 in the entire U.S. in the highest concentration of roofers. Maybe because of the weather, I don't know. But there are thousands of roofers to choose from. So how do you pick the right one for you in your home? Well, let's use process of elimination. Anyone who's not GAF Master Elite certified, throw them out. That's 97% of all roofers. So now you're getting to the elite 3%. How many have over 35 years of experience? How many utilize the catch-all system to make sure that your yard or driveway is totally clear of debris? How many are family-owned with local roots? And then, maybe most importantly, how many have the stamp of approval from the one and only Salk household? You're going to leave you with one, Riverside Roofing, the roofing company you can trust. In a sea of thousands, Riverside Roofing continues to stand out. And guess what? They do have openings this winter for your roof project, so have them out to your house this week. Call 425-949-8252 or go to riversideroofingllc.com. They are the roofing company you can trust.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Right now at Wendy's, get 2 of these fave items for just $7. The spicier classic chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs. It's an incredible deal, but an insanely difficult choice. Do you go double chicky sando, both spicy and classic, 1 beefy and 1 chicky? Or maybe you go all in on one and go Nug Max. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time only. Select a request 2 for $7 deal to redeem. Not valid in a combo with saucy nugs. Single item at a regular price. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
It's time to vote for the top athletes and sports stories of 2024. Be part of history and help choose the sports stars of the year from a knockout roster representing the best in Washington sports. Cast your vote for the sports story of the year. Was it the Seawolves playoff run, the Kraken making history, or UW rowing dominating the Olympics? You decide. Vote now at seattlesports.org and enter for a chance to see the winners announced live at the 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Awards, presented by Microsoft.
The Southern California Fire Disaster Relief Fund is now taking donations to help the victims of the devastating fires. You can help by donating at your local Safeway checkout today.
Where can you kick off the new year? With big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity. Now through January 30th, get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your very first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage, because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots this new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. Don't wait and get gig speed internet, spend less green, and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Internet discount applied to mobile bill. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus One Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus One Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual speeds vary.
If you're looking for a new Mazda, go see our friends at Mazda of Everett. With over 790 new Mazdas in stock at 11409 Highway 99 in Everett, they have something for every budget and credit type. Save up to $3,970 on new Mazda CX-5s. Come meet the team and see why they've been Washington's largest Mazda dealer since 2015. Exceptional service and always their lowest prices. Visit in-store or online at MazdaofEverett.com today.
So here's the deal with Mariners season ticket memberships. You've got 2 great options. With a Flex membership, you have the freedom to pick your seats, games, and number of tickets whenever you want. Or, if you like knowing where you're sitting all season long, go with a reserved membership and lock in your seats from day one. Both plans get you access to exclusive pre-sales, year-round discounts, special event invites, and more. Check it out at mariners.com/25.
Now Raleigh wins it in the 10th inning for the Mariners.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
I'm here, DJ. I'm here. Are you here? I'm here.
Of course I'm here. Come on.
Brock's not here. Brock is gallivanting around. He's going to a big Oklahoma State TCU game and going on vacation for a couple of days. So I decided to bring in the real journalists. I got Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated here with me today as well. You know Greg, don't you?
I've known of Greg forever. I don't know, have we officially met, Greg? I don't know if we've officially met.
You know, I think I bugged you a couple times over the phone in SI capacity. It'll be nice to do it again and round out the portfolio mediums.
Awesome. So I got DJ, I got Greg Bishop. We are, as I say, rocking out with our Brock out. And let's kind of go back before we move forward, DJ. We'll start with divisional weekend, which was mostly, I think, lived up to the billing. It's not like it wasn't the greatest weekend of all time, but certainly all three games had something about them. What did you learn from the 4 games over the weekend?
Protecting the football is kind of a big deal. The teams that did not turn the ball over won every game, and the teams that lost had turnovers in bunches. So it was, when you have a weekend, I think it was Sunday, right, where we had Jalen Hurts threw for 127 or 128 yards, then Josh Allen followed it with 127, 128 yards. But they both kept a clean sheet, and their defense took the football away. I mean, it's like we can complicate this and talk about legacies and this, that, and the other, but sometimes it's pretty simple.
So what do you take from that? I mean, we've had this conversation now throughout the year, not to just immediately bring it back to Geno, but we'll get back to these games here in a sec. That's been the debate, right? Geno threw for a ton of yards. What was it, 4th most of anyone this year? It's the 15 picks and fumbles, et cetera, that we keep talking about. Does it change or alter any of your view on how the Seahawks should approach the offseason from a quarterback perspective?
Well, first of all, I feel like if you had asked me what I'd had for breakfast and I said Cheerios, Salk would have responded with, you know what, like Cheerios, sometimes not all the Cheerios get to your mouth. Sometimes they fall on the table, which reminds me of Geno. Sometimes Geno just can't get, the Cheerios from the spoon
You're going
to
to
your
laugh
mouth
because
without making a
earlier
mistake.
today, I actually kind of went back on it a little bit and was like, yeah, maybe you do need another year with Geno, and maybe you got to look at one of the mid-round guys, and that's another thing on my list to talk to you about today.
Yeah.
But you can't say that interceptions and turnovers were the story of the weekend and not go to the guy that was second in turnovers this year.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. And look, there's been players who've had, turnover issues, somewhat turnover issues, but they've been able to clean it up for a 4-game run. I think, obviously that's a little trickier when you're talking about that. Guys who tend to value the ball in high school and then they value it in college and they tend to value it in the NFL, and that's a trait that seems to be pretty consistent. Players that are a little more protective of the football. So it is a major issue, and it's something that you have to keep drilling down on. And it's why you aren't why you are still actively looking for your next quarterback. I'm not sitting here saying that with Geno you are let's not even open our eyes and look around. We're committed long term, and he's our guy for the next 3 or 4 years. I think you're still absolutely looking. The challenge in this offseason is, where is the upgrade located? I mean, that's going to be the issue. But I mean, you can drill down on, we've got to do a better job protecting the football, but it's hard to do with some guys.
I have a story out next week on Brock Purdy, and a big part of the premise, I'm curious what you make of it, is there are a handful of NFL quarterbacks who I think you'd hand over the deed of your house to, sight unseen, no questions asked. And then I think there's a second tier of guys who are pretty elite in their own right, but maybe need a little more around them, needed to come together and coalesce and form. And so the premise of the story is like NFL quarterback economics. Do you pay Brock Purdy an insane amount of money because you don't have a better alternative, because he's really pretty good already? And I guess I'm curious, what do you make of that premise overall?
Yeah, I've used the analogy for years. Bucky and I have talked about this forever. As we've just talked about trucks and trailers. Like you have trucks who can pull the team behind them, and you have trailers who get pulled by the team. And both of those vehicles can get you where you want to go, but they're different. And I think the nuance in it is, okay, we can all acknowledge who the trucks are. Those 7, 8 guys, wherever they are, we know who the Josh Allens and Lamar Jacksons and Joe Burrows, and we know who those guys are. And then we know who the guys we don't think are good enough at all to even be trailers. The question is there a high-end trailer? Is there a low-end trailer? And how do you separate the money within that sect? I think that's a great premise for an article. And the way I would look at it is, can he, with the system that we have, is it a perfect match for the player? And if we pay him, where is the threshold where the talent around him erodes that we can't, he can't function and we can't get where we want to go?
So take Jalen
that's
Hurts.
the sweet spot.
Take Jalen Hurts in there. See, he's a good example for me, right? He's not the world's greatest thrower. He's good at it.
They are not winning because of him. They are winning with him.
Right. But is it because of what you just said? He's a perfect fit for the offense that they're running and his ability to run the football and what it does to open up Saquon. I mean, how are the Eagles winning with a quarterback that I think we all would agree is a trailer?
Yeah, I would make, and they're almost off by themselves. Their roster is so stacked and so loaded. I don't want to say that they're quarterback proof, but the threshold of excellence is very low for them to still win a Super Bowl because they are so stacked across the board. I mean, there's no weakness on their team. They are loaded everywhere with depth as well. So I think with him, it's, hey, protect the football, which he's done a really good job of, and use your legs to give us 3 or 4 plays. I think they can, especially because they'll be playing outside in weather, at least it'll be frigid, that they could have him throw for under 130 yards again and go to the Super Bowl, which I don't know there's another team I could say that about coming into this weekend.
When you look at that Eagles offense and how they got going, what stands out to you in terms of adjustments, over the last month or two?
I just think they just committed to just beating people up, as simple as that sounds. Like, they're enormous up front. And they're going to make you stop that. And Saquon, I know they rested him at the very end, but man, for as many touches as he has, I don't recall a running back looking this fresh and this fast. Coming on a year where he got 2,000 yards. I was with Jamal Lewis when he got 2,000 yards in Baltimore, and we went into the playoffs that year. And I thought, gosh, he's just got beat up, and Saquon is just fresh as can be. And I think they've just said, and I would say there's one play last week that they deviated from that philosophy on the 2nd and 7, and they tried to get a little cute and put the ball in Jalen's hands, and he took a sack, and it almost cost him the football game. So they're going to continue. They're just going to put the ball in his belly and let that big offensive line move people.
On the other side, Jaden Daniels, is this the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen?
I don't know how it's even an argument, just in terms of I think there's performance coupled with accomplishment, and that's what makes it the best that we've ever seen. We've seen guys who've played great, but to combine that with what they're doing as a team and how he's elevated everybody else around him, that's what's crazy. And it's, and they know I have a bunch of friends in Philadelphia. I mean, I won't say that they won't use the word scared, but there is a healthy respect for Jaden Daniels. And look, in that last game they played him, I think they had 14 points. Washington had 14 points coming into the fourth quarter, and then he just exploded. So that's something I don't know that we've seen from a rookie quarterback.
So how did we get there? He was picked second, so it's not like you're going to look up. How did 16 teams pass on him? It's not like that. But Greg was just telling me earlier, and I'm sure you know this, that there were teams that did not have him rated nearly as high. I'm not going to criticize the Bears for taking Caleb Williams over him, although in retrospect it looks like they could have gone the other way. How is it possible that a guy is that good and all 32 teams weren't immediately sold that was going to be the case?
Well, and you're talking to one who didn't have him there. So, I had those top 3 quarterbacks, I had very similarly graded, but I had Caleb, Drake, and then Jaden. Okay. So, I can just speak from personal experience of how I came to that point. You had 5 years of playing in college, just kind of, some flash plays at Arizona State for those years, but nothing that wowed you. I think he was, I want to say 17 touchdowns, 3 picks his first year at LSU. And we ran the ball well. It was good, but it wasn't something crazy elite. Then he goes his last year and blows up, wins the Heisman Trophy. But you're watching that, you're going, okay, well, there's 4 years where I haven't seen, this is the 1 year that I've seen this crazy elite level. And then, I don't know if you watched the NFL at all this year and watched Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, you're sitting there going, well, gosh, okay, well, is this all real? Or is he just throwing to 2 freak shows out here to go along with the tight end and Mason Taylor, who's going to be a top 50 pick coming up. So it's trying to separate those things. But I've already done this kind of reflection on it. It's like, okay, what's the lesson I can learn from this?
Sure.
And the lesson I've learned is, and it's similar to the Joe Burrow lesson as well, is that once the light comes on, it's not turning off. Like, what you see is real. It might take you longer. It's why we've seen so many quarterbacks, and your favorite Bo Nix last year is another one, where having that ability to stack all those starts and get all that experience in college, that the light then came on maybe late in your college career, but then once it comes on, it doesn't necessarily turn off. That's who you are. Where the challenge is, if you haven't got it all figured out when you get to the NFL, man, there's guys who've been flushed out of the league before they've got a chance to figure it out.
Greg,
so I think it's real.
I know Greg's going to jump in here, and I just want to quickly say, I know I give you grief about certain things because that's part of my job here, but God, do I love that answer and love that about you. And the fact that you are looking at that and saying, all right, why did I miss? And you barely miss. It's not like you had him as a second rounder. I mean, why did I have these guys maybe not ranked the right way, and trying to learn that? It's a huge credit to you, and one of the reasons that you are the best at this and why we love having you on every week.
I've got a lot of practice of explaining screw-ups.
Me too.
So, I mean, I'm very experienced.
We found something in common.
So, folks I've been talking to in recent weeks, professional evaluators such as yourself, say often that the one thing they really maybe didn't pick up that he's so good at is, throwing against the blitz, picking things up quickly, moving through the progression fast and getting the ball out. I'm curious how you saw that specific trait before the draft, and I'm curious now how you see it now in relation to the Eagles' pass rush. To me, that's like kind of the key to the game Sunday.
Yeah, it goes back to talking to all the people at LSU in the draft, and then a bunch of articles got written about it as well. We had Jack Marucci from LSU on and explained all the VR stuff that they did with him, which was so cutting edge and so cool, and it was their ability to not only simulate. For those that don't know, I guess I should explain it. So they came up with this technology. It was a flight simulator company, I think in Germany, that developed this thing along with Jack Marucci, who was at LSU. They put this thing together, and people have tried virtual reality for quarterbacks and the goggles, and it wasn't realistic, and the quarterbacks you talked to that used it didn't really care for it. Well, they nailed it on this one, and what they can do is if you have 100 plays that are going to be in your call sheet on a Tuesday, you can dump those plays into this software. You can dump in what the tendencies are of the defense that you're playing against, that you're most likely to get versus formations in motions and things. And then he can rep those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times virtually. So not only are you getting your practice reps, he's getting hundreds of extra reps. And what they had told me was, what was unique about him and some of the other people they had put this headset on was he was starting to see it so fast that to challenge him, they started upping the speed. So it said, I think they got up to 1.6. So if you think about listening to a podcast on the way to work and you can crank it on 1.5, 1.6, he's looking at defensive movements versus route combinations at almost 1.5 speed of what he's going to see once he gets to the game. So the technology, and he will tell you, it definitely helped him through the processing. I thought, okay, that was incredible at the collegiate level, but now we're in the NFL where this is a full-time job, and these are guys and coordinators who are going to throw you so many different looks, and the picture is going to change after the snap. How is he going to, is there going to be an adaptation, period here? And son of a gun, he's doing exactly what he did at LSU. That's what's incredible.
So, DJ, let's kind of broaden this out a little bit. 4 teams lose on divisional weekend: Baltimore, Detroit, Houston, and LA, the Rams. Of those 4, who is in the best spot moving forward and next year could go beyond the divisional round? Who is in a tough spot because we know how quickly things change in the NFL and ends up taking a step back?
Baltimore's not going anywhere. They have a deep, talented team. Lamar's locked up and under contract. It doesn't look like they're going to lose coordinators. I don't think maybe Monken will end up getting one of these jobs. I don't think he is. So you're going to have continuity. You're going to have the quarterback back. They draft as well as anybody. They're going to continue to add players to what they have. So I don't see them going anywhere. The one on the other side of it, I mean, Detroit, there's this, what is the phrase that they're using, the brain drain? I mean, you've already lost, you're going to lose your offensive coordinator's gone, defensive coordinator's likely gone. You just lost your defensive line coach, who just left to be the defensive coordinator with Vrabel. So I mean, that's a lot just right there to replace. And then, it'll be nice getting some pieces back on defense that were hurt. Hutchinson's a big one, getting some of those back. They still have a ton of talent on offense. I just think the combination of them losing some coaches with Minnesota, who is a really, really good team, Green Bay's a playoff team, and Chicago, who just took one of your coaches, is going to be better. So I think that's one that one's going to be tough there. And but still admit they have a lot of talent still in that building. The Rams are a fun one, by the way. The Rams, because they have a chance, I think, with Les Snead, if he can nail it again this offseason, they have a chance to have the next dominant defense in the NFL.
A week later, we talked to you again. The Seahawks still haven't chosen an offensive coordinator. They've brought 3 guys in for second interviews. Grant Udinski and Hank Fraley and Clint Kubiak have all come in for a third interview. Second interview rather. 2 of those guys are at least rumored to be candidates elsewhere. Fraley at really all of the Detroit connections. And we've heard that there's a possibility that Kubiak may go with Aaron Glenn to the Jets. A week later, how do you feel about this search and what direction they should be going in?
Well, I mean, I've told you I like the combination of Fraley paired up with somebody on the passing side of things. I think that gives you an identity for sure. Kubiak has got he's got a really good reputation around the league. And that's a system that's had a lot of success. I just didn't think that's the direction they wanted to go. It felt like they wanted to be more kind of a gap scheme, power run team.
So that's kind of what I felt. Just not to cut you off, but in the week since we've talked to you, we talked to Orlovsky, we talked to Brian Baldinger, and it felt like everyone we asked, like, hey, what direction should you go with this scheme? They immediately went to Kubiak, like immediately. Yeah. And for whatever reason, that's the name I've had the hardest time getting most excited about, maybe because he's done it before, and I tend to get excited about new things as opposed to things that have tried it before, and maybe that's a me problem. But if you had to, if you were selling me on why to go with Clint Kubiak, why would you do it?
I would sell you on the fact that half the league runs this offense. So, in terms of finding players and fitting players in, you get free agents. There's a pretty good chance they've played in this offense before. So you have some familiarity there. It has success. There's a lot of teams that run it. There's a lot of teams that have been very successful with it. You can rely on a little bit. You don't have to have 330-pound, mauling offensive lineman. You can take a little bit of an undersized player who's really athletic. My challenge with this scheme, and you saw it in the Houston game, and you see the stats with Shanahan. When you get down and you're behind in this scheme and there's no illusion of run, you are in deep trouble. And so I think, to me, even though it's more, maybe more 90s football, a little more old school with a little more power run game, I think that I saw it with the Chargers last year. I just prefer that style. I think it complements a team that wants to be a defense and physical team. I prefer that style. You know who else can run that stuff, by the way? It's Chip Kelly. And I don't know if he has any interest at all in I see that smirk on your face.
Well, do you know how much I
any interest at all.
I love Chip Kelly
coming to the NFL. But to me, what he did at UCLA, what he started to morph into, and I remember talking to him about this. I had seen him just after they just smoked USC, and USC could not get a line because of all the different shifts and motions and unbalanced looks and 6 offensive lineman things they were doing. And it was such a departure from what I remembered of Chip at Oregon, which was this fast-paced, high-flying offense. And then, anyways, I think Chip is really, really smart, and I think if you gave him a vision of what you want it to look like, I think he's capable of executing it.
Wow. For me, with the Seahawks, I see them as, say, since 2016 or so, as a team that has retooled to be in about the same place every year, either just outside the playoffs or in it and maybe win one game. I'm curious, when you look at their roster and the talent available upcoming in the draft and free agency, how you weigh, the approach of continuing to try to retool and stay in it versus more of an extreme rebuild.
Well, I mean, you could make a case if you wanted to do the extreme rebuild and that potentially there's some exciting quarterbacks coming down the pipe here in next year. That I think there's too much there. There's too much to tear down to go all the way to the bottom. I don't think they're capable of going all the way to the bottom, and I don't think they have any interest in doing that. So when I look at some of their roster holes, I look at that offensive line, the interior of the offensive line. It's a good draft there. There's a lot of depth, and there's a lot of quality interior players. Getting an explosive, dynamic tight end into this offense. Check. There's a bunch of them in this draft. Now, the main strength of this draft, ironically, is the place where they're deep is a running back spot. So I don't know how if they need to do any shopping in that aisle, but it is loaded at running back. So I think they can make their offense look a lot different with what they could get in this draft, though.
We got 2 minutes, and I got to ask you about two things real quick, so you know the timing. One, Jeremy Fowler suggested that a DK trade to the LA Chargers might make some sense for both teams. Obviously, you know the Chargers as well as anyone. Would that make sense? And if so, what would the Chargers give up for a DK Metcalf?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I hadn't seen that. It definitely fits because they need somebody on the outside. And I think if you look at Justin Herbert and Mike Williams, he loved throwing to him, just a big body. You can hit on, let him wall people off on slants and get vertical down the field. So I don't know, you're gonna have to give him a new contract along with that. So if I was the Chargers, I would love that, but I would try and get it done for a 2, and I'm sure that Seattle would. I don't know that Seattle would even consider that, but that would be my asking if I were the Chargers.
And then the other is just the two guys that we saw play quarterback in the championship game the other night. Neither are considered top prospects, but especially in Will Howard's case, is there a possibility he does become one of the dying breed of mid-round quarterbacks that could actually succeed?
That's going to be the question in this draft is who are the 3, 4, and 5 quarterbacks. And most teams agree on who the top 2 guys are, and most of them have it in Cam Ward first and then Shedeur, and then now it's who's going to be that next guy. Now the good news is that we can revisit this because at the Senior Bowl, darn near all the candidates are going to be there, including Will Howard. So and Riley Leonard, he'll be there as well. So Will Howard, from what I saw early in the year, I would have said he's a 6th, 7th priority free agent. To the way he finished up in the playoffs, he looked like one of those mid-round lottery tickets that you see what you can get.
He made a pretty good throw with the game on the line to win that game, although, as you said earlier, it helps
I would say
Jeremiah
this.
Smith.
I would say this. I live 20 minutes away from Petco Park. I'm closer to Petco Park than that corner was.
Great stuff, as always, DJ. Thank you. It was nice to do it without Brock. This was fun, and we'll do
Greg's
it again.
a professional. That was fun.
Isn't it nice to finally bring some professionalism to this show? All right, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
See you guys. Bye.
There is Daniel Jeremiah, of course, of NFL Network and all the other places. You can find DJ at Move the Sticks. We got a full hour left with Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated. A lot of it is going to be spent with story time. Before we do that, though, some reaction to where the Seahawks are at and what they can do moving forward. We'll do it next on Brock and Salk.
Ichiro is headed to Cooperstown.
The unbelievable has happened!
Celebrating the career of Ichiro Suzuki.
I may joke around, but I really think it's great that we get a chance to play together.
I agree. I'm here to tell you that Ichiro grew something out of Star Wars down there.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is. He's a new all-time hit king.
Join Seattle Sports in congratulating Ichiro Suzuki on a Hall of Fame career with your Seattle Mariners.
At Sound Pain Solutions, some of the most difficult cases we see are patients suffering from failed back surgery syndrome. Bill is an avid golfer, but his pain got so bad he couldn't play and was considering surgery.
My back was killing me. I could not play any more golf. I could not walk more than half a block. I did not want surgery on my back, and I researched many different ways of getting this fixed. Behind that was horror stories from my friends who had back surgery, but it wasn't worth it, and I just made conclusion to that. There's got to be another way.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We were able to get Bill back on the course without the risk of surgery. We did this using non-invasive, FDA-cleared procedures like non-surgical decompression, laser, pressure wave, and bioelectrical treatments. Now, Bill is back to playing golf and enjoying life. Schedule a free consultation to learn if you qualify for our non-surgical and drug-free treatment by calling Sound Pain Solutions or visiting soundpainsolutions.com.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. For over 55 years, you've trusted us for roofing, siding, windows, decking, and gutters. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Cressy Garage Doors. If you're in the market for new garage doors, Cressy Door has been offering quality service since 1952. Best selection, best price. Cressy Door.
For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning. Your crown is disappearing. Hair loss had me feeling like I was losing my identity altogether. Well, I've got some good news. It's a simple one-day treatment that worked for me. The Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. It starts growing new hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly memberships. Those can help retain what you have. But what if you want your own natural hair in specific areas like I did? You decide how much, how thick, and where. From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to the world-class leading doctors like Dr. Perungo, it's not a maybe your hair will grow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 425-449-8185. Advanced Hair is the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and they are the team that I personally recommend. That's 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair? Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. And 2-1.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Bring on the sunshine with a trip to see your Seattle Mariners. Come to sunny and warm Peoria, Arizona for another great year of spring training baseball. There's no better time to wind up at the Peoria Sports Complex where you can see all your favorite Mariners up close. Spring training in Peoria has plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, and the best seats in baseball. It's family fun for all ages. Book your trip today. Support your Seattle Mariners in Arizona for another exciting spring training season. Get your tickets at PeoriaBaseball.com.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Get his freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
I don't read the internet, guys.
Take the bull by the hands.
And Brooke, you are. And Brooke, you are.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Eward and Mike Salk.
All right, now we're to go here. Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com. And it's always nice to read our text messages. Salk, Brock makes you palatable. Without Brock, what you say, your voice, it makes me want to puke. Well, thank you, 206. It's nice to know. And then 509 weighing in. Is this show getting like reformatted soon or something? Because it just seems lower energy. It's not as creative. Maybe the end is near. And if it is, you guys should say something now, and then that'll get more listeners because you guys are being honest. Or you might need to think about trading Salk for someone else, because I don't really think you can reach the top with Mike. And with him, I think he's holding the whole team back. Does that sound familiar? All right, you guys got me. I just want the team to win. And it, by the way, sounds like Greg Bishop, who's in with me for another hour, has some of the same idea. Like being in the middle, you used the word purgatory earlier to describe Seattle sports in 2008. I don't think that's purgatory. I think that's the wrong use of purgatory. That's hell. If you're going to take the analogy all the way through, that was sports hell. Sports purgatory is being in between. Those teams weren't in between. They were bad. The team that you're talking about with the Seahawks now, I think the biggest problem is purgatory, and actual purgatory. It's neither heaven nor hell, and they can't seem to figure out how to get to one spot or the other.
It's a great analogy, in part because I obviously have a lot of friends who are 12s, and they really range in how they look at this. But the way I've seen the Seahawks since, say, the season after their Super Bowl loss, after the interception and the non-handoff, I've always seen them as a team that was capable of getting into the playoffs and maybe winning one game.
Mm-hmm.
And because maybe I'm a journalist, which means I'm negative by nature, I would look at that and think that's worse than being really bad and really good. I mean, look at a team like the Eagles, for instance, right? They win the Super Bowl, 5-year drought. Some of those years are terrible, right? It looks like they've whiffed on the quarterback, and they come back and win it again. I'd rather have 2 titles in 6 seasons than 6 playoff appearances where you never really had a chance to win. And yet the people I talk to, my friends who are 12s, they're split on it. A lot of them like being able to care at the end of the season. And I see the value in that. I just think, what's the point if you're not trying to win the whole thing? You know, and obviously they are, but they're doing it in a way where they're trying to retain so much of what's already there.
Yeah, so you and I see this identically, quite frankly. And I didn't know that coming in. I know everyone says I like to just bring in people until I find one that agrees with me. No, it just kind of works out that way. And I didn't know that you felt that way, but I see that exactly the same. I would rather be good one year, bad the next, and then really good the year after that. And that's not to say I want to be bad. I'm not looking for a season where you're at the very bottom, and I'm not necessarily even a big fan of tanking, but I do think continuing to commit to being in the middle is a really dangerous exercise, specifically in the NFL. It's maybe a little bit different in baseball where you can build things in different ways. In basketball, I think it's much more akin to the NFL. Like, you've got to take a risk because both of those sports require a dude in order to get you to the top.
100%. And I think in the NFL especially, you have to look at it. I look at like what they're not getting while they're, consistently in this purgatory. That is one of the best receiving cores they've ever had here. I love watching how they're put together, but they haven't netted a deep run in the playoffs. You look at the quarterback. I think Geno's been amazing while he's been here, but they're not winning games in the playoffs. And I think some of this speaks to John Schneider in 2 different ways. One is I think he's really good at finding talent in later rounds and historically has drafted really well. In combination with that, they've had some misses in recent years. So then you have those 2 things. You have enough bandwidth to continue keeping a competent team on the field that's not going to disappoint or embarrass. There will be no paper bags, as far as I know, over heads at Lumen. But you're also, I think, I'm not a big, high floor, low ceiling guy. Like, that feels to me like I'd rather fail spectacularly over and over again than live in, above average.
So here's a good question here. So because you and I agree, I'll kind of jump on the other side and speak for the people that generally are attacking me on this. And the question is a good one from the 509. How do you get to great with being bad without losing the locker room and falling into being one of those perpetual bottom feeders like the Jets and the Browns and some of these teams that have been at the bottom and just can't seem to find a way to the top?
Well, that is part of what's tricky about it. The way you do that is you hit on a quarterback. But, obviously that's harder.
And you have a better organization than either of those two teams have from the top down.
100%. And I think there's a lot of adaptability in the approach of taking a wider lens and making more dramatic changes. You can become all sorts of different teams instead of the Seahawks have a really cool identity that they play with. I think it's pretty distinct in the modern NFL. I'm not so sure that identity itself isn't part of what's holding them back from going further. Like, what would this offense look like if it was more grounded in play action and 4x1s and all this stuff you're seeing from the Shanahan tree? And I just think we don't know because every year it's like they're going to show up and be tough and run the ball and play good defense. And it's going to be loud there and they'll win 7, 8, 9, 10 games. And I don't know. I just feel like I don't see a lot of value in that. I could see why people do, but yeah,
well, especially in this league. I said it earlier, and Jerry DiPoto really, really stepped in it when he used the 54% figure, and it was absolutely taken to mean the team was only trying to win 54% and then they would quit, and that's obviously not what Jerry meant. I'm not going to sit here and defend him because it wasn't a great line. But what he was trying to say was when teams win at least 54%, they tend to make the playoffs. And when you make the playoffs year after year in baseball, you give yourself lots of bites at the apple in a sport where the playoffs can be pretty fluky and maybe don't have that much to do with the regular season. The NFL's not fluky for the most part. Are there teams like Detroit that lose in the first round? Yes, it happens. Everything under the sun will happen eventually in sports. But in general, if you're not one of the 5 best teams in the league, you're not winning a Super Bowl. You barely have a shot at winning a Super Bowl. And maybe Washington will prove that wrong this year. That'd be cool. It'd be a great story. But part of the reason it would be a great story is because it's so unique.
100%. And, we were talking with DJ earlier just about the idea of quarterback tiers and the tractor trailer. For me, the trailer is really important in that because there's different kinds of quarterbacks and different kinds of teams within this bucket of guys that are typically going to be in the conversation at least for the playoffs, and when they have a good team around them can make a run at a Super Bowl. And I just think there's a lot of variance there. Like, I haven't seen a recent Seahawks team go into the season where I felt like that's a potential playoff team that can win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I just thought there's a potential playoff team. And to me, that's the critical difference in this calculus.
It's another reason why it's funny. I asked DJ to kind of sell me on the idea of Clint Kubiak, and he did not, by the way. I'm not sold after listening to him, partly because I don't think he really meant it. I think he was trying to, play a role. But the idea of, some version of, what do you say, 20 teams in the league run some version of that offense? All right, I get the argument that a free agent can come in and instantly understand it. But the fact that 20 teams run that offense is in no way a selling point to me. First of all, if 20 teams are running it, 15 of them aren't having enough success with it, so it's not working for them. Second of all, if 20 teams are running it, isn't it kind of easy or familiar to the defenses as well? Don't you want to run something that's going to surprise them? Don't you want to zig when other teams zag in the NFL where prep and coaching is so enormous and scheme is such a big deal? I don't want to run the same thing 19 other teams are running.
100%. And I have a question. I have a question for you with the Seahawks. To me, it's like John and Pete and what they did here and the culture and that was just a bruising ethos.
Right.
They went to football games. They were going to leave you with bruises on your body and they were going to go in and win. My question is as that approach, that philosophy of what kind of guys and how they want to play, is that reached its expiration date?
Of being physical? I think exactly the opposite. I'll open that up if people want to jump in via the text line, 866-979-3776. Mac and Jack's text line certainly weigh in on this conversation. I would say no. I would say, what I would say is that over the last few years, when people were saying, let Russ cook and, everyone's throwing the ball around the yard, I think the Seahawks should have committed even more to their actual philosophy of running the ball, physical power, etc., to gone away from the rest of the league. Take advantage of all of the small linebackers. Take advantage of the fact that teams aren't looking for the players that fit what you want. Now, I don't know if there's an expiration date, but clearly it's coming back around with Detroit and Baltimore and to extent Washington, all these Philly that are playing that physical style that's the opposite of what was in vogue even just a few years ago. So is now the time to split back and start trying to go the other way and throw the ball over the yard? Not with the team that you have right now. You're not built that way. So hang on to your answer because we'll come back to this. We got a lot more time. We got to give you everything you need to know next. We've got story time coming up with Greg, and you guys can text in as well at 866-979-3776. It's Brock and Salk, Sales Sports on 710.
Ichiro is headed to Cooperstown.
The unbelievable has happened.
Celebrating the career of Ichiro Suzuki.
I may joke around, but I really think it's great that we get a chance to play together.
I'm here to tell you that Ichiro grew something out of Star Wars down there.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is. He's a new all-time hit king.
Join Seattle Sports in congratulating Ichiro Suzuki on a Hall of Fame career with your Seattle Mariners.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here, and yes, we are 3 weeks now into January, which means so many people have tried and unfortunately failed to lose the weight that they swore they would lose at New Year's. Get help. It's really, really hard to do things like this by yourself, and that's why I turned to Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, because they really can help. They helped me. I lost 35 pounds in 8 weeks. I lost 10 pounds in just the first week, and I did it without being hungry, without eating fake boxed meals, without hitting the gym every day, without going crazy. I just bought real food at the grocery store, but they helped me with a plan. They helped me with recipes. They helped me know what to eat and when. And then, and this is huge for me, they really help with the support and especially the accountability. Enormously important for me to lose weight that way. How about you? Do it for yourself this year. Call them. It's just a 15-minute free phone call. Just see if you're interested. 425-588-0080. Do it for yourself. Call Eastside Weight Loss Clinic or go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Cracked windshields happen, and if your car has a forward-facing camera, it needs to be recalibrated. All-Star Auto Glass is the professional choice for windshield replacement, repair, and recalibration. Call All-Star Auto Glass today.
The Cantina at Silver Reef is an experience for your senses. The smells, the sounds, the flavors is a night you deserve. Experience the experience at the Cantina at Silver Reef today. Serving traditionally inspired dishes made with the finest authentic ingredients. This is one experience that you can enjoy more than once in a lifetime. Experience it today at Silver Reef Casino Resort in Ferndale, Washington. And visit our website, silverreefcasino.com, to check out our menu.
G. Scott here to share how you can help the Southern California Fire Disaster Relief Campaign to support communities affected by the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires. Through January, you can make a difference by donating at your neighborhood Safeway checkout. 100% of your contributions will benefit food banks, shelters, and nonprofits providing essential aid, including food, shelter, and financial assistance for those impacted. Together, we can bring hope and relief to our neighbors. To support families in need, donate at your local Safeway today.
Your favorite Seattle sports show is available anywhere you go through the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Full shows and interviews, exclusive video and articles from the home of the Seahawks and Mariners. 4 Down Territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health.
Guys, if you're taking Viagra or any other pill for ED, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life? If you're like most men, the answer is no. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we can restore blood flow naturally without pumping your body full of chemicals like you've been doing. Guys, you need to come in today and fix this problem now. Why are you putting this off? Viagra's not going to magically start working next week, and you don't want to use shots or go under the knife. Call us today and speak with our clinic manager. Ask him any question you like, how it works, the science behind it, and even the cost. Change your life today like the thousands of men who already have. If you're tired of dealing with ED or Peyronie's disease, then call West Coast Men's Health.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Do you leave your car running unoccupied to warm up or stay warm during the winter? Don't do it. Car thieves call those steamers. They're watching for you and they'll steal your car before you know it. Every winter, Washington sees an uptick in auto theft, and a major reason is steamers. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep you and your vehicle safe. Don't get caught with your car running. These tips are brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
Did you know that your windows and doors are your main source of energy loss? Hi, I'm Adrian, owner of Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Treating your home with care is important to me while offering top quality products. At Lake Washington Windows and Doors, our windows with triple weather stripping and gasket seals are up to 25% more efficient than Energy Star standards. Right now, save $600 per installed window and $1,200 per door, and make no payments for a year. For details, visit lakewashingtonwindows.com. Lake Washington Windows and Doors, a name you can trust.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
All right, well, Ichiro is a Hall of Famer. He's not going to go in unanimously, unfortunately, because one person, one voter, one lousy BBWA member decided not to vote for Ichiro. Why? Who the heck knows? I can't come up with a good, solid reason why. But look, there are people out there that didn't vote for Willie Mays. Someone out there said, hey, Nolan Ryan shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I shouldn't vote for him. Someone said that about Ken Griffey Jr. So, it's really difficult to know what goes through people's heads. But Ichiro is in the Hall of Fame. He does it with the third highest percentage ever behind Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter, just ahead of Ken Griffey Jr. And he says if you go back 25 years, this was not a guarantee.
Started in 2001, and now it's 2025. But at that time in 2001, there was probably not one person on this earth that thought that this day would come.
Dude is incredible, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say when I hear somebody looks at the same exact facts, the same exact impact, the international impact with him even, and they say, nah, he's not a Hall of Famer, I want to ask them, like, what do you like?
like in the world?
Yeah, like there's got to be something that you actually enjoy, because why do we have to say that everything is worse? I just think that that's part of being a sports fan. We have to react to things in ways that just dispense of logic, reason, science, actual studies, and everything else. And I really want to find that voter. Maybe that's a good call him and ask him.
See if you can. I think there's a lot of people in Seattle who would definitely like to know who it is. Ichiro goes in with CC Sabathia, who gets in on his first attempt. Billy Wagner, who makes it on his 10th and final attempt and wore the tightest pants I've ever seen, almost uncomfortably tight for the occasion yesterday. No Carlos Beltran. He falls just short. Felix did well, 20.6%. The only guys ahead of him, other than the three who got in, were, as I said, Beltran plus Andrew Jones and Chase Utley, and everyone else was a steroid guy, so they're probably not going to see any more votes. The only candidate next year really is Cole Hamels, whose numbers are almost identical to Felix. So I'm going to guess Felix end up a significantly higher percentage next year. By the way, the Mariners also made this announcement yesterday regarding Ichiro.
The Mariners are retiring your number 51 jersey. After your induction in Cooperstown this summer, we'll hold a ceremony here at T-Mobile Park on August 9th and officially retire your number 51 next to Hall of Famers Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and Jackie Robinson.
Pretty darn cool. Kevin Martinez, Mariners president, making that announcement.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
No news yet on the offensive coordinator situation, but were you intrigued, Greg Bishop, by the name Daniel Jeremiah just threw out there as a possibility? Chip Kelly.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one thing I've seen with Chip, because I dealt with him when he was at Oregon, right? And I was covering college sports for the New York Times. And I think you've seen him evolve, not just as an offensive mind, but as a person. You know, I think he has become more of what everybody becomes in middle age. Like, he's just more adaptable and more able to cook up schemes that are different. And I think you could see them coming on this year specifically for that. I think the last, let's say, 6 weeks of the college football season, if you weren't mad at Ryan Day or feeling like he had failed an entire state, then you were thinking, like, this is a team that has a really good chance to win the whole thing.
You think in middle age people become more adaptable?
I think those who are paying attention do.
All right. You might want to talk to my dad about that. I feel like you might get a slightly different answer. Still waiting, though, to see what direction this goes. Clint Kubiak sounds like he could be of interest to the Jets. Maybe a favorite of Aaron Glenn's, who looks like he's going to be hired there today. And as for Hank Fraley, Detroit, Chicago, and also maybe New York could have interest there as well.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
We'll wrap it up with the Kraken, who are off today, home tomorrow after winning a couple games in a row. They've got the Washington Capitals, and I'll end there and say that's everything you need to know, because I want to get back to what Greg was talking about right before we went to break, and trying to figure out what a new ethos, a new era, essentially, for the Seahawks. And maybe I didn't quite hear the question right. No,
I think I phrased it poorly. Like, to me, they're physical nature, I have no issue with that. I think one of the common misconceptions of a Kyle Shanahan kind of system is that it's finesse and it's Bill Walsh's West Coast offense, and all of those systems, whether in Miami, Green Bay with the Rams, or anywhere else, San Francisco, are grounded in being physical and running the football. They just do it in different ways, and they want to get guys more into open space. I'm wondering if the Seahawks have had this sort of, let's call it a soul imprint since 2011, 2012. Like, you think of Legion and Boom, you think of that era. And regardless of how you're going to move forward schematically, especially with the roster you mentioned and how it fits with what they currently do, I'm wondering, do they need it to be open to new approaches, a separation of that soul to have, like, retaining some of it but evolving?
So they didn't do that last year with Mike McDonald coming in, and I mean, not only a different coach, but a totally different personality from a different system and a different, experience, and obviously a different generation, maybe 2 generations in between. I mean, was that not enough to change that?
Well, I think that there's 2 things that I would say there. One is that's fair, and you can see those changes starting to take shape. And I think I maybe didn't give that as much credence because we focused so much on the offensive side of the ball. And I think a similar evolution, whether you want to run the ball a ton, whether you want to be physical a ton or not, I think, like, imagine Ben Johnson calling that offense. Imagine all the misdirection, the play action, the getting guys open in space. I mean, even in the game they just lost the Lions, they had some incredibly creative plays. I'm thinking of the reverse to Jameson Williams where he zigzags up. I just feel like there's a way to retain the soul, but, like, maybe change a little bit of how you see yourself. I think they have a brand. And I think their brand, like the brand of the employer that I work for, is dimmed. And I think that there's some value in looking at, like, we can create a new identity that still has parts of our old identity. And to your point on McDonald, it's totally fair.
It's a great conversation, and one I'm sure we will come back to. Greg Bishop is here from the apparently dimmed Sports Illustrated, but dimmed or not, it allows him some unbelievable access and the ability to write like only Greg can and find himself in situations that only he does. So I wanted to make sure to reserve a good 20 minutes at the end of this show just for some storytelling. I know I want to hit on a few of your most recent stories, and then I've got some just conversation starter questions for you. We'll see where this goes, but my guess is you guys are going to want to stick around and hear it next. It's Brock and Salk, Sales Sports on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Jaden Daniels, how do you find a rookie quarterback that's that good when you don't have the number 2 pick? That's where the conversation turned. If you don't have a number 2 overall pick, well, then what do? I have some names that have been thrown out, and I'm going to throw them your way. Joe Milton.
I think you take chances on guys like that.
Yeah.
Because that's your only option. You talk to the Patriots and see what's going on there. You go across the league and see what backups are available and find a guy that you think could run your offense if he needed to do that.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, Mike Salk here for Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, and hotel. As you look for a fun night out, remember Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is the perfect spot to go unwind. And whether that means watching some playoff sports and everything that comes with it, or just an incredibly fun night out, great food like Vista Prime Steaks and Seafood and their happy hour, which starts at 4 o'clock, or the Awesome Falls Buffet. Regardless, go see the breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley while having a great time at snocasino.com. And yes, the hotel's nearly here. It is Seattle's closest. It's Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Jewelry Gram, it's your friends at Shane Company here to remind you that Valentine's Day is Friday, February 14th. We have just the right gift for your sweetheart, like heart-shaped necklaces, birthstones, or diamond studs. Getting engaged? Create a dream ring and choose from natural rubies, colorful sapphires, and natural and lab-grown diamonds in all shapes and sizes. At Shane Company, love is always in the air with our unmatched free lifetime warranty and everyday competitive prices. Come visit us in-store and at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Something amazing is happening in data management. Even though storage needs are constantly changing, companies are only paying for what they need now. That's because CDW customized a Pure Storage Evergreen One SLA-driven storage-as-a-service solution that delivers enterprise-grade hybrid cloud storage that is effortless, efficient, and evergreen. Simplify storage administration with Pure Storage and CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at cdw.com/purestorage.
Shop can't miss deals going on now during Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. For a limited time, get a free adjustable stand when you buy a DeWalt 12-inch miter saw. That's a $229 value. Plus, save $680 on a Midea 4-piece kitchen appliance suite. Now just $17.96. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid 1/13 through 1/24. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. While supplies last. See store or Lowes.com for more details and qualifying items.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair? Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1.
It's time to vote for the top athletes and sports stories of 2024. Be part of history and help choose the sports stars of the year from a knockout roster representing the best in Washington sports. Cast your vote for the sports story of the year. Was it the Seawolves playoff run, the Kraken making history, or UW rowing dominating the Olympics? You decide. Vote now at seattlesports.org and enter for a chance to see the winners announced live at the 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Awards, presented by Microsoft.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, bike shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years!
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five!
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
I've always said, the car sales in the 1980s and 1990s, earned the rep that we have today. The concerns that consumers have because of what has happened in our industry in the past, they're warranted. It's our job to show them that that's not how business is done anymore, right? It's very different business. It's much more transparent. There's much more information that's available to people, and we're much more customer focused than I think the car industry was, 20, 30 years ago. I'm more focused on providing good customer service and relationships, because I think if you take care of people, money will always come. So I think just the philosophy and the focus for us has changed, where I was constantly chasing a paycheck, and now I'm just constantly trying to take care of customers and employees, because I know if I do that, then my paycheck will take care of itself.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
To put my Ebenezer's on for this, let me read this to you. This is kind of interesting. Greg Bishop is here. We're going to spend the next 25 minutes talking through his job and the stories that he runs into, writing cover stories for Sports Illustrated. But just some breaking news this morning. The Baseball America prospect list is out. Top 100 list for 2025. The Mariners lead baseball with 7 names on this list. 7 names on this list. And it doesn't go necessarily in the order that I thought it would. In fact, one guy is a lot lower on this list than I thought he would be. Here are your 7 Mariners in the top 100 list. Number 16 is Colt Emerson. Not a huge surprise. Number 56, so it's a long way down, is Cole Young, who we will probably see at some point this year at second base. After that, 70, Farmelo. 77, Michael Arroyo. Good for him. He had a good year last year, and it's obviously Lyle moved him up a little bit, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we'll see how many tools he really has in the long term, but he can flat out hit. That is his best tool.
Number 89 is Felix Celestine. Doesn't that feel, I know he's been hurt. Is that just the reflecting the injuries?
It has to be, and the fact that he just hasn't gotten to affiliated ball yet, and he's still so young. But I would think once he gets to affiliated ball and he plays the way that we think he's going to play, he's going to skyrocket up. Because again,
I guys you wouldn't get rid of, isn't he second after Emerson?
100%. And I think there's a case to be made. You could even put him over Emerson with what his upside can be.
And then Harry Ford, who's really fallen off a lot last year, he's at 95. Las Montez is 97. So the only downside is that you've got a lot of guys in the 70 to 97 range. But you put 7 guys in your top 100, it's a good thing. And it does complicate some of the conversation about Jerry and the Mariners, that he has now twice built one of the best farm systems in baseball. And so got to try to figure out the major league part to get it over the top. All right. Greg Bishop is here, and I just want to talk stories with you. I just want to hear what you're up to. I think I got to start with the museum. Can we start with the museum? How much can you talk about this? Because
I can tell most of it. There's a couple things for opening that involve really famous people that I probably shouldn't get in trouble. Well, the Found Blue still owes me money.
The thing that Greg is working on is really freaking cool.
So I did Jim Gray's book a few years back, Talking to Goats. We've done a lot of projects since, and last year at the Super Bowl in Vegas, they announced this sports museum that's going to be at the Fountain Blue Las Vegas. And it's all sports memorabilia, but it is wild stuff. I'm talking about the first pair of Jordans that Michael Jordan ever wore, all 7 of Brady's rings, Serena's dress from a record-breaking Australian Open win, Oprah's Presidential Medal of Freedom. I mean, Gretzky stuff's in there, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, like any great athlete you've heard of in the last 20 years, except Caitlin Clark, who passed, oddly. Anyway, and I really tried. My job within that is to give people a tasting menu of sorts of excellence in sports and why it matters both for sports history, for our modern world, and even, I guess, for a third thing, world history because all these things tie together. We have a bat that Jackie Robinson used the season that he broke the color barrier. We have Ali's robe from his final fight. And you're able, what I tried to do, this is going to out me for the massive nerd that I am. I tried to evolve excellence in sports as a concept as a visitor goes through the museum. So you see how it forms, you see how it is forced to adapt, you see where teamwork can come into play, you see people coming back from stuff, you see records broken, you see history, and then it evolves to Kobe, which is like the last thing people see if they go the normal way in the museum. And for me, I focused on his lasting excellence. Like, that's to me a guy who was so impactful in the world that his legacy and how people look at him has grown in death. And I think that that's fairly rare in our world. And so,
certainly rare in the sports world.
There's 350 items in this bad boy. It's supposed to open in May.
At the Fountain
Yeah, and the next time somebody says,
is the Fountain still going to be there in May? Maybe a legit question.
The better question is, well, yeah, I hope so, because half the payments still due. So when it's finished, yeah, we did go there for a site meeting the other day, and to your point, there weren't a lot of people.
They're losing a lot of money there.
What I would say is the hotel is beautiful.
It's unreal.
Yeah, when I walked in my room, it started talking to me, and then the blinds open, and I see the sphere come into view.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is my life. I get that a lot lately. Like, how did I end up here?
Don's Prime, man. That steakhouse is unbelievable. Not cheap, and actually more expensive than I thought it was going to be, but really, really good. And you're right, that site is beautiful. So again, you find yourself around all of these interesting people. So I guess I have some like thought starter questions on it. What is, in all of your time, writing covers, being around people, profiles, etc., what is the most danger you have ever felt while writing a story?
I love this story. I've told it not on this station before, but people might have heard it. I was a 22-year-old intern at the Newark Star-Ledger, and they say, go write about Shaq. Him and Kobe were coming to New Jersey to play the Nets in the NBA Finals. If everybody recalls, he had the rap song Biological Don't Bother. And then he had his stepfather who had been the real father's basketball rival before the biological father went to jail, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I tracked down the real dad in a mission in Newark. And I remember taking him to Burger King. Like, I always treat my sources well. And he's talking about all the connections. His brother was the chief of police in Newark. Shaq got his bodyguards from that police force. And so there's all this like uncomfortable juxtaposition. This was like when Jason Kidd's wife was getting harassed in Boston, like that year of playoffs. Anyway, I finally get Sarge to sit down with me, and we met at a restaurant in Secaucus. And I remember we ate a lunch, and then I saved the hardest question for the end, where I was essentially asking him about the juxtaposition. Like, what if you did all the raising, and then now the biological father is going to be at Game 4, and he might win in front of him. Like, will that be uncomfortable for you? And he didn't just get mad. He, erupted. Like, he was swearing at me. He was, hitting the table with full force, and he took my digital recorder and threw it against the wall. And I'm 22 years old, right? So, I had way too much hubris, but I was scared out of my mind. So I pick up my recorder. I leave. I go back to the office in Newark, and it didn't break. So everything that he was screaming at me is on the tape, and I put it on the story. And because I was young and overwriting everything, I had some language I would probably do differently. I believe I used the phrasing, expletives flying from his mouth faster than pieces of grilled cheese sandwich he had for lunch. One, that's just a terrible sentence. Two, it's just way overdone. That said, I think this is over. My bosses are happy with me. They're saying you kicked Bill Plaschke's butt, on that specific story, which at the time meant a lot. And then the next day, they say, you're going to cover Game 3 and 4 of the NBA Finals. And I still didn't connect it, but they give the intern a lot of different weird assignments. So I went to Madison Square Garden and interviewed sad Knicks fans about the Nets being in it. Then I stopped at a toll booth on 16W on the Turnpike and interviewed the person taking tolls. And my last one for this was to interview the Nets scorekeeper who had been doing it for 40 years. And so I'm sitting there and I'm interviewing him, and I'm young and stupid, so I don't even think that Phil might be there, Sarge. And all of a sudden I felt two large meaty hands, and they were around my neck from behind, like had me a little bit. I wouldn't say I feared for my life, but I had a lot of fear in that moment, you know. And
you were in public, at least.
Yeah, I'm also young. I don't have any reputation. I you know, like the New York Post wrote about this.
Wow.
They called me a New Jersey intern and said I got chewed out at courtside. You know, Hader's gonna make some good points. You know, and Jim Gray actually broke it up and stepped between me and Sarge. And it's wild because 20 years later, totally unrelated, I never even told him this story. I did his book, and now we're business partners.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Sarge since, or was that the end of that story?
You know, I actually work closely with Shaq's agent, so I've worked really hard to not have this story come up today.
So that is the most danger. What about the most, maybe a split one, most inspiring story? And on the other side, maybe most heartbreaking story.
Yeah, I would say, okay, this is good. As a baseline for these answers, one thing I've discovered as I've gotten older is that I've used writing these kind of stories and having these kind of experiences as a way to sort of figure out me and my life, which I'm really grateful for. So the answers...
Almost like it's therapy for you a little bit to write about these
like
stories?
Not understanding the world in these ways, but being drawn to these stories.
Yeah.
And I find myself being drawn now to ones of guys in middle age who are trying to figure out if they're going to keep doing it. And I think I can trace my entire life through the stories that I've written. And so when I say the one that was the most inspiring, I would say the first story I did on Tyler Helinski. At that point, very few mental health stories had been written, period. I would gently and not strongly posit that I've written more about mental health in sports than anybody in America. And I remember the first time, like, going to their house. I had sent them a bunch of old clips, and one of them, oddly, was a piece I had done on Melanie Roach, who was the oldest Olympic weightlifter ever, and just a really amazing family. And Mark Helinski, when I emailed them, really liked that story. And she's based here. Like, she lives in Olympia. Her husband, a long-time state-level politician. Anyway, I go to their house in Orange County, and I didn't know the terminology. Nobody was really talking like that stuff at the time. You're talking middle of 2018. And I just remember the first interview with them, like, it transformed the way I look at all these things. Because you have to see, I mean, I've had people yell at me. I've had people hug me. I've had people cry. I've had people send me gifts. I've had people send unsolicited autographs that I've written about, and that's a good list if we want to get into it. But that was the first moment that I really saw, like, I'm going to have to do my job if I want to do these really hard stories in a way where I'm not just a capital J journalist going in and I got these boxes I want to check. Like, I got to be a human being. And it changed the rest of my career since then. I remember biting the side of my mouth in that interview to not cry for 6 hours. That was a 6-hour interview. And I remember it bled for like 3 weeks. But the Helinskis are like my 5th or 6th set of parents at this point. They're doing amazing work, Helinski's Hope in college sports. And they forced me to look at my own life in terms of mental health. So not only, that's like a trifecta win for me, you know? I get to tell a story that was really hard, but that I'm proud of. I get to understand my own life better. That helps me for what's coming. And I get to tell their story, most importantly, in a way that hopefully helps some people out there.
How did it help you?
I think I was more prepared when I had my own mental health struggles more recently. You know, you're looking at SI, getting laid off, getting rehired, regular life stuff. I think Brady said it best. I'm 45 years old. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I think I knew intuitively that, 1, I could lean on them, that 2, they had resources, and 3, that I, you know, knew how to go about it in a way where you've seen the worst example of the opposite.
You know you could lean on who?
The Helinskis.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so when you went through some of your own struggles, that was a family that you called?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Katie Meyer's family, I had a piece on them last year. She's the Stanford goalie, won a national title, wanted to be president of the U.S., and it had a legitimate reason to say that, you know? And, like, they were really instrumental for me in a time when I was dealing with a lot of blowback on the Joe Kennedy story I did. You know, they coach in Bremerton. I got 10,000 death threats on that story.
Right.
And, like, but what we're talking about is their daughter's mindset right before, you know, she took her own life. And you can sort of feel what it's like to have your existential part of your job be threatened. And then understand that that's not a normal feeling, you know? And so I feel incredibly lucky that, like, I don't want to sound like I'm name dropping, but like Dak Prescott and I share like podcasts, and they're about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And some guys, you show up, you do the interview. That's okay. I'm not expecting anything else. But these become really deep, long-lasting relationships, and there's a lot more nuance and complexity to them than I would have thought coming out of journalism school.
Who's a person you've met along the way that turned out to be a lot more complex than you thought they would be?
That's a good question.
It's probably you probably have too many to answer.
No, I hesitate to say this, but I have had I would say Aaron Rodgers, and this is a recent example.
I see why you'd hesitate to say that.
I don't agree with the vast majority of his stances the last few years. When I profiled him, I always thought he was kind and thoughtful, but, we weren't like best buddies. At that point in his career, he was only doing interviews at his locker. Even like a cover sit-down, he wanted to be like the rest of his teammates, was ostensibly what he said. And he reacted really oddly one time when I said I was going to go to Chico to report for the Super Bowl, his hometown. Basically told me not to go, and I'm like, bro, you don't control international airspace. I mean, like...
Right.
Anyway, I think my opinion of him really dimmed over the last few years, and I still think some of his opinions are dangerous. But I watched Enigma on Netflix, and we were actually, the documentary stuff I do, we were runner-up for that dog. We didn't get it. And what I heard was a man who's searching for the same stuff I am. And what I saw is some logic in his thought process, and a very similar process in terms of scouring the earth to find out what makes you happy, Magazine cover stories didn't make me happy necessarily. New York Times didn't make me happy. Just your journey of self. And I emailed him a couple days ago, and I haven't talked to him probably 5 or 6 years, and I just said, I'd never before considered that two human beings could be on a similar search and just reach totally different conclusions. And that doesn't mean I agree with you, but you changed my paradigm of like, I can see what you were trying to do, and it's really not my job to judge whether you're right or not. And it just felt like really weird to think that way about him. I
feel like it's my job. I just try to judge whether he's right or not, and some of the selfishness with which I think he handles himself or comports himself. But no, I think the way you look at it, and from your perspective, it makes perfect sense. And I'm not surprised that he's complex. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously an interesting human. That's why there's been so much said and written and recorded about him, is because he's unique. There's not a lot of people like him. Is there a story that never quite came together that you always wanted to tell, that you got close to telling, but you were just never able to get the right pieces together, or your company to run it, or anything like that?
I got a couple. First one I'd say is I always wanted to write Eric Berry, the longtime Chiefs safety.
Oh, yeah.
People don't really understand how
the guy who was drafted right before Earl, right? It kind of came down to him and Earl.
And he got sick. He came back.
Yeah.
People don't really understand how sick he was. Like he was in danger of dying. And then he was back in the NFL, and I know his agent pretty well. And on the very day that they were playing a game where he got hurt, we had agreed we were going to move forward with it. I've been chasing this for 3 years. I've even talked to Eric. A lot of times I have to go, if I'm in Kansas City, I'll go ask somebody who ostensibly has been saying no and say hey, I'm still here. I want to write this, blah, blah, blah. And we had to, eventually he did it. The other one that comes to mind but did come together, is Jake Locker. I've spent 5 years convincing him to talk to me. Him and I are still in contact. And what I wrote about him is essentially that there's two kinds of people primarily in the NFL loosely. People who love the whole part of it. They want to be a star. They don't mind coming on and sitting where I'm sitting right now talking to this mic. And people who just love the football and the rest of it makes them uncomfortable. And Jake was the first person where I got this sense of he realized that's not what he wants in his own life. The outside part of it, and things weren't going well at that point. And he actually wouldn't talk to me unless I brought my family to his house in Ferndale. And so my son was 2 months old. I don't think he left the house yet. This is 2017. And he's up there, Jake Locker's kids are taking care of him. And I mean, I'm kind of stubborn like that. I'll stay on something. I've been trying to write Josh Allen for 3 years, and I just hit them again yesterday. Let me know if this is annoying. That's my favorite way to phrase it.
Do you have I don't know what your process is, but Do you have like a notebook of ideas? Do you keep that on a computer? Is it just all in your head and every once in a while you're like, oh, I should get back to Josh Allen? Do you put a little like reminder of like, hey, every 6 months, email the Bills? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's exactly how. I mean, what I've done is I taught myself to think in story. So I'm like an elite consumer. I read 2 to 3 hours a day. It's targeted. Some of it's for learning about writing. Some of it's for learning about self. Some of it's to enjoy reading. And some of it is to look at like a specific thing or player that I'm writing about. I also, because I do documentary work, especially scripts for docuseries, watch every single 8 million Netflix shows on whatever sport or team you're going to watch through a season.
Who is the greatest writer of all time?
Frank DeFord.
Okay.
And I can't
Fiction writer?
Oh. Well, depends how you'd view him.
Who's your favorite, I guess, is really what I mean.
I've always liked John Grisham's books. Huh. Yeah. But
That's like the exact opposite of hoity-toity. I mean,
the first thought that popped in my head was Tom Wolfe, who's sort of both. You know, like, and I met him a couple times. I mean, Gates Elise is a mentor of mine. I think he's a dominant writer from any era. And maybe I should have said him.
What is there a great white whale out there? Is it Josh Allen? Is there like one story that you think one day you're going to get to write or want to write, and that will be just the crowning achievement of what has been already a pretty incredible career?
You know what's interesting? My thought on this has evolved a little bit in part because it always feels like it's going to be over soon. You know, like I'm doing my 11th Super Bowl cover in February. Might be the last time. You got to think that every time you go sit with Mahomes or the Lions or whatever. But like now I'm starting to like look at the tally and kind of see like there's one person in America who cares about this, and you're talking to him. Mike Silver has the most Sports Illustrated Super Bowl covers ever with 13. Do I want to beat him? Absolutely. I tell him to his face every time I see him, I'm coming for you, Mike. And so it's stuff like that.
He hasn't blocked you yet? That's sort of his thing. So I'm surprised he hasn't blocked you for that.
I think I'm the rare guy who's bounced around so much that I've covered most every sporting event you could cover. I've done every tennis Grand Slam. I've done every golf major. I've done the Tour de France. I've done Olympics. And I've covered sports on 6 continents. Would I love to get to Antarctica for a story to round it out? Of course. Would I love to get to the Masters, like the major event I haven't covered yet? Yeah, definitely. But I would say in terms of storytelling, I find myself more drawn to going back to people and getting this like depth of conversation that you wouldn't have before. Like I'm supposed to talk to Demar Hamlin later today, and I think, you know, he essentially has had an amazing season after almost dying and then coming back.
Real Demar Hamlin or the one that's actually out on the field now?
The one on the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that's the same person.
Well, that's the story.
You
right?
can ask Aaron Rodgers about that when you text with him.
we talked about Demar down in the field. I never thought he'd come back and actually play well.
It is pretty amazing.
And that's what I said to him. I wanted to write about you and just football.
Just as a player.
Yeah, and he was like, finally, somebody asked. You didn't believe me 2 years ago, but
It's pretty incredible. That's Greg Bishop, and honestly, that's a 25-minute conversation that could probably go another hour or two. Thank you for letting me ask some questions like that and try to emulate Howard Stern for a few minutes, because I just love the way he does interviews with people, and every once in a while try to emulate it, and you give me a great topic and a person to ask some really fun questions of, and just some really great answers. Text line, loved it. Salk, you got to do more of this with Greg. Greg rocks. Best interview ever. What is this reading he speaks of? I've never heard of it. That's a different text. Sorry. Greg's spitting facts. Thank you for helping me gain some perspective as someone who was on antidepressants and dealt with my own stuff. Mental health wise, I really appreciate you discussing this. So a wide variety of responses. You can always follow Greg online, or of course read all of his stuff at si.com. He's local, and we try to have him on as much as possible. Thanks, man. It's great to have you in.
One, thank you for having me. Two, I love those texts in part because like that's not something I'm trying to do, but it's amazing. I had a filmmaker ask me recently if he could make a documentary about me. I'd rather do this instead, so let's keep going.
Pretty cool. That's Greg Bishop. A good half hour. If you missed any of that, go listen to the podcast of it later. Find it at seattlesports.com. We are very low on Here's the Thing submissions, so if you want to leave something fun, go to the app and leave us a little voice message for Here's the Thing tomorrow. We'll catch you guys at 6 a.m. Until then, the hay is in the barn. See ya.
Get to the chopper!
That was dope, man.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Talking Ichiro Suzuki with the voice of the Mariners, Rick Riz.
He had the most unbelievable ability to put the bat on the ball. If he put the ball in play, which he did a million times, Ichiro had a chance to be safe. Now, if he wanted to, as you know, he could hit the ball out of the ballpark. He could win the home run derby. But his game was to hit the ball the other way, put the ball on the ground, get to first base, steal second, and score runs. And he did that as well as anybody in the history of the game of baseball.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
Hey Seahawks fans, Tyler Lockett for Brown Bear Car Wash. We've got the perfect play for a spotless car. With the Unlimited Wash Club, you can keep your car game ready all season long. It isn't clean unless it's Brown Bear clean.
Jaden Schwartz for Techline Roofing. For your best shot at a new roof,